We are live. This is not another boring podcast. I forgot to turn on the mic. We are live. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa Al Jazari through the police body cams. Judge Carol Weimer under the microscope. We have Charlotte, our beautiful private investigator.
I'm not a private investigator.
You fit the category, ma'am. You went deep undercover. And we have an audio recording from a star witness on a recorded line. Say disturbing details, and we'll take a deep dive into what those details are. We have Mustafa. Mustafa, say hello. He's from Prince William County Adult Detention Center here in Virginia. Mustafa, say hello.
Hello.
Now, Mustafa, you were telling me something about a code you just got out of the law library. Mustafa, what code and what were you talking about?
Okay, so I just did some research. This is code 19.2-268.3, which is admissibility of statements. But I just want to touch base on the factors. The court finds in a hearing conducted prior to a trial that the time, content, and totality of circumstances surrounding the statement provide sufficient indicia of reliability so as to render it inherently trustworthy. In determining such trustworthiness, the court may consider, among other things, the following factors. But this is just to explain what's going on here with the false statements that these witnesses are putting out. A would be personal knowledge of the event. B would be the age, maturity, and mental state. C, the credibility of the person testifying about the statement. D, any apparent motive to falsify or distort the event, including bias or coercion. E, whether the individual testifying was suffering pain or distress when making the statement, and whether extrinsic evidence exists to show the defendant's opportunity to commit the act. This is these particular factors, specifically an apparent motive to falsify or distort the event, including bias or coercion. If you look at Kylie Clapp, what she's talking about, she says, "My dad works. What he does is he pierces strippers for Billy at the strip club where he had an issue with me." So their motive for them to say negative things about me, it's clear cut from the beginning. He lost so much business because of what happened with that viral video that went crazy.
Well, Mustafa, really quick, let me play this video of the Billy incident. And this is a incident where Mustafa had with Billy, and this is a month before Mustafa met Dorothy. And unbeknownst to Mustafa, unbeknownst to everybody, and these are new details that we're finding, that Kylie Clapp, Dorothy's 16-year-old daughter, apparently her dad works for Billy, and she's hanging around the strippers that at one point before this incident used to love Mustafa, used to promote his business, are now, they hate Mustafa. And Kylie is in that environment. No wonder when we open the discovery, we have the forensic interview. Kylie says a lot of negative hearsay. Kylie was never living at the apartment. Kylie was living with her dad. Kylie was never there. But she says a lot of negative things about Mustafa, and she paints him as a monster, even though she doesn't know Mustafa and she was never there. Let's watch that video with Billy and take a deep dive into that incident and talk about the details.
Fucking keep it up, and goddamn it, I'm telling you, you're gonna fucking go. Are you gonna assault me? You're gonna fucking get off my property. How many times I have to tell him, officer?
Now, Mustafa, what are we watching? Who is Billy, and what are we watching? What's going on here?
Yeah, you watch who goes to fucking.
Okay, Billy. Okay, this is William Bain Jr., known as Billy. He's a strip club owner in Crystal City in Arlington, Virginia. I'm promoting my business. People love my products. The business owners surrounding that strip club, the Gentlemen's Club, are okay with me promoting my business. They're actually very delighted that I'm posted up there and promoting my business as I'm bringing them customers. There's a 7-Eleven right next to the Gentleman's Club on the right side, and then on the left side there's an Asian restaurant.
So you had a
Give me
business.
permission to be there.
So you have a small business, a heat warmer, physical therapy equipment business, and you've been going to that specific spot for how long before this incident?
Like, give or
You have 1 minute remaining.
And
I gotta go. Have a good night.
I love you,
that-
Mustafa.
that-
We're gonna take a deep dive into the details, and we're gonna talk about the code that you found out at the library. And you go ahead.
Specifically, I just want to tell you specifically on this code, it talks about these factors, the credibility of the person. It talks about the apparent motive to falsify or distort the event. Kylie Clapp's face, my dad forced me to come here. The forensic interviewer asked, why are you here? My dad forced me. Jason Clapp, what is his motive?
I love you, Mustafa.
What is Glenn Ford's motive?
I love you.
All right, man. Good night.
We're gonna take
I
a
love
deep
you.
dive into it, and we're gonna we have recording and videos, and we'll take a deep dive into it. I love you, man. Take care of yourself.
Catch up tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
All right,
We'll-
guys.
we'll
Good
talk to you
night.
tomorrow.
Good
Yes,
night,
sir.
Charlotte.
Good night,
Love you
man.
guys. Take care. Take care. Thank you so much.
No, this is Mustafa
Thank you for
calling
using
in
Global Telling.
from Prince William County Adult Detention Center. Mustafa Al-Jazari has been held in our county jail for the past going over 2 years. Mustafa Al-Jazari got in a tragic vehicle accident. He lost his family in that vehicle. He lost his girlfriend, her 5-year-old baby in that accident. We have all the evidence that this is a dash camera. This is a vehicle accident. We have the dash camera that show it's a vehicle accident, and we're going to take a deep dive and look at the dash camera. The prosecutor is sealing off this dash camera from the community. We have body cams and discovery that show this whole entire thing is a vehicle accident. But what the prosecutor is doing, she is charging Mustafa with murder. They're charging Mustafa with 2 counts of murder, M1, regardless of the evidence. Now, it's been 2 years, and they've sealed off all the discovery from the community, the body cams, the dash camera from the community, from the family, from Mustafa himself. Now, for a prosecutor that screams in court that Mustafa is guilty, why are you terrified to release his evidence? Why are you terrified that this community is going to get to see the evidence? We're taking a deep dive into what is going on with the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. What we're watching here is an incident that took place 4 months before the vehicle accident. 1 month before Mustafa met Dorothy, his girlfriend. Now, Mustafa has a small business. It's a physical therapy equipment business. And he's been going to a specific location, a very heavily populated location, to promote his business and sell his equipment. He has a physical therapy equipment business, a heat warmers, and those small physical therapy equipment devices. And he goes there for just about 3 years. Now, when I got back from overseas, I started a company for the Marines that get stuck on base, and I've expanded my business all the way to Crystal City in Arlington. And I would go with my brother. One, I would help him promote his business, and I would promote my business and what we do with mobile mechanic, with roadside assistance. And it's a public easement. It's public property, public easement. There's 3 different businesses on the strip. There is the strip club. He's the owner. Billy is the owner. And then to the right is the Chinese restaurant, and to the left is a 7-Eleven. Now, mind you, this is a public easement. Mustafa has every right to be there and promote and sell his equipment. Now, out of the blue, one day, this guy comes out, and this incident breaks out. And he wants to kick Mustafa out of the property. Now, he has no right to kick Mustafa off the property. As a matter of fact, I was there, and I recorded that video, hoping that this crazy man de-escalates, because the police are about to be there, and de-escalates the situation. Now, this video went viral. Over 7 million people saw this video. People were duetting it on TikTok, and the community start boycotting a white, crazy, racist man being racist to Mustafa. Now, he's the owner of a strip club. The strippers that work for Billy loved Mustafa. I have multiple videos that they used to promote his business. They used to love Mustafa. But when this incident happened, they no longer love Mustafa. I mean, you're a stripper and you work for Billy. What are you gonna do? Obviously, you're gonna side with the business owner to satisfy this guy is upset. So they start going against Mustafa. As a matter of fact, they start antagonizing Mustafa. Now, unbeknownst to Mustafa, a month into this incident, Mustafa met Dorothy. Now, her daughter, unbeknownst to Mustafa, her dad, Kylie Clapp, 16-year-old Kylie Clapp at the time, her dad works for Billy. And Kylie, on a recorded line, she says, my dad works for Billy, and he pierces all the strippers. And she hangs out with all the strippers. Let's listen to that audio recording. What? The reason this is relevant is because 3 months into Mustafa meeting Dorothy, a tragic vehicle accident happened. Now, the police department is using 16-year-old Kylie into Mustafa's character, into Mustafa's relationship with her mom. Now, Kylie was never there, didn't live at the apartment, was never there. As a matter of fact, Kylie was separated by CPS, and Kylie lived at her dad's place. Now, when we open the discovery and we look at the forensic interview and the documents and what Kylie is saying about Mustafa, it's hearsay inside of hearsay inside of hearsay, and it's all negative about Mustafa. Now, I'm not surprised finding out that her dad works for Billy. She hangs out with the stripper. Let's listen to Kylie on a recorded line.
My dad, he's a piercer. He pierces like a lot of strippers, and he had brought up to them what happened, and they were and who they were, and they were like, yeah, we know this guy. Like, he used to record our license plates and put it on the internet and like follow us home and stuff. So I also was thinking, I don't want them to follow me home, and I don't want to put myself in a position where
her dad works for Billy. She hangs out with the strippers. And when we open the discovery, she's repeating the sentiments of Billy and the strippers. Now, at one point, Glenford, the ex-boyfriend, on a recorded line, admit to our beautiful, and I keep calling her an investigator because she went deep undercover, and she sat down with Glenford. And he admitted to Charlotte Carter that Kylie, before the vehicle accident, went up to Glenford, the ex-boyfriend, and asked him to kill Mustafa, and can we make it look like an accident? Now, let's listen to that recording.
Especially the older daughter. Like, she wanted me to shoot, like, kill him.
The older daughter wanted you to kill him?
Yeah. Like, where? Like, could you please, like, if I make it look like, so, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, something, and it's like self-defense, would you do it? And I'm like, bro, no.
This girl hates Mustafa. This girl is hanging out with people that hate Mustafa. Unbeknownst to Mustafa, Mustafa met her mom a month into this incident. Now, the police department, why is the police department using hearsay, and they know it's hearsay, into prosecuting Mustafa? They know that Kylie wasn't there because there's a Google Nest that show it's a beautiful relationship. Mustafa had a beautiful relationship with Dorothy, had a beautiful relationship, and we're going to ask everybody, our friends and supporters on the group chat, we're not going to be on the group chat because we're using the two cell phones. Usually we're on the group chat, but not today because we're using the two cell phones to play the videos. Now, The police department know that this is all hearsay. There's a Google Nest that shows days on days inside the apartment that shows this is a beautiful relationship. And they know Kylie wasn't there. She was separated by CPS. Now, why is the police department turning and taking advantage of a tragic vehicle accident and maliciously prosecuting Mustafa and using witnesses that were never there? How could you be a witness if you're not there? Let's play a recording of a lawyer that was representing Mustafa against the police. Mustafa had over $500,000 lawsuit against the police before the vehicle accident. A lawsuit from 2018 all the way to the vehicle accident. It was a giant lawsuit. It was over $500,000. Mustafa was suing the police for violating his rights. And Mustafa had a lawyer. Now, Mustafa was constantly being harassed by the police. Everywhere we go, we would be harassed. That's why he had a dash camera in his car. He had a very expensive dash camera since 2018. And this dash camera shows the whole entire thing was a vehicle accident. And we're going to take a deep dive into what the dash camera show. Now let's play an audio recording of Mustafa's lawyer who was representing Mustafa against the police at the time. And this is what the lawyer says about the whole entire thing.
The investigator that wrote the report, he lied on the report. We recorded that conversation.
I'm sure he did.
Yes, sir.
Frankly, I'm sure they all know that you sued the Stafford cops. And they beat your brother up because they know that you sued the Stafford cops.
Yes, sir.
Mustafa. His police report was falsified. They beat him. Correctional officer would beat him inside the jail. And when we tell the lawyer that was representing Mustafa against the police at the time, he says, they falsified your police report. They beat him because he was suing the police. What do you think is going to happen? Now, this is a good segue. And we'll play the video from inside the jail. The beating, we have the video. But this is a good segue to ask our good friend, private investigator, what is going on here? She went deep undercover and she talked to Glenn Ford.
I did. So, the Glenn Ford thing is what's been bothering me is, we've talked about how he deflects. So he
Deflects a lot.
Nobody.
As a matter of fact, there's an audio on the internet, and he's not addressing that what he said on his own recorded line.
So he repeats the same thing over and over. He's not getting out. He's going to jail. He's going to stay there. And the only things that I've seen that he's in any shape or form addressed the audio is with some innuendo about maybe it being AI or you can believe what you want. I mean, these are typical kind of narcissistic type of statements. You can believe what you want. I didn't say that. So I really would like to hear from him since he continues to comment about how Mustafa's never going to get out. I mean, what do you have to say, Glenn, about the recording of our conversation? Are you claiming that it's fake, that I used AI? Are you denying having that conversation with me? Are you denying telling me all of these things? And I'll tell you, anybody that knows me knows that my soft spot is for children, especially children that have any history of abuse. So when we first started on the topic of Mustafa and everything going on, one of the first things you said was that these kids were so horrible. And I'm thinking to myself, God, like, who calls kids freaking horrible? You know what I'm saying? And I said, they can't be that bad. And you doubled down on it. And I'm trying to understand why Kylie would even want to talk to you after the things that you said about her. You. And what is your claim?
I mean,
If it's that I used AI, say it. I want to know what it is you're claiming.
He's not answering the question. I'll tell you. we've invited Glenn Ford, and we told him we have a mobile podcast. We podcast here and we podcast in front of the FBI building. It's a mobile podcast on public property, and we've asked Glenn Ford, Kylie Clapp, Amy Hodgkins, Stephanie Claiborne to show up, physically show up on this podcast, and let's have a conversation about what we're finding on the body cams, the police body cam, what we're finding on the recording that Glenn Ford himself on a recorded line say that Kylie solicited him to kill Mustafa, and can we make it look like an accident? That's Glenn Ford saying it on a recorded line. Now we're gonna play the recorded line. This is Charlotte. She sat down with you at MGM, and if you think that there are no videos, there is CCTV all over MGM. I don't think he forgets. I think he forgets that there are CCTVs in MGM. MGM is a casino at Maryland, and our beautiful Charlotte.
I have proof that I bought your Uber from your address to the MGM and then back. So
Now,
how did I get that?
how do you think this is going to play out in court, brother? You're the star witness into prosecutor Sarah Sami case with Mustafa Al-Jazari. The police department is using you to manufacture probable cause. In return, apparently, they've deleted all your criminal charges. Now, Glenn Ford has heavy charges with
What were they? Can you remind me?
drug charges, a firearm, distribution, drunk in public. Everything got wiped out. But I think Glenn Ford failed to realize that they will null processed, and the Commonwealth attorney can bring them back. Hence to why he's not addressing what he's saying on the recorded line. Hence why he keeps repeating himself, where he's not addressing anything. Glenn Ford, all we have is questions for you. We've invited you to a physical podcast in front of the FBI building. It's public property on the sidewalk. We're putting a table, a couple of chairs, and we're doing a podcast. We're going to be asking you, we want to ask you questions about your recording, the body cam, what you said about Mustafa. We have those body cams. Now, for the love of God, please tell me that you do not fear for your safety. Because in front of the Department of Justice, in front of the FBI, there are guards standing there at the door. So you're going to be very safe. We're attempting to have a conversation into what are you talking about and what are you alleging against Mustafa. Now, there's a Google nest that contradicts everything that Glenn Ford is saying about Mustafa. Glenn Ford is sitting down with Investigator Davis, painting that Mustafa is a monster.
Yes.
Now, the Google nest contradicts it. Now, Glenn Ford, did you see the Google nest? Unfortunately for you, for Kylie Clapp, for the prosecutor, the Google Nest is video evidence inside the apartment, days on days, that shows Mustafa loves Dorothy. Dorothy loves Mustafa. The kids love Mustafa. Let's take a deep dive into a couple of those videos. Now, this is a video of Mustafa, Dorothy, and the kids. This is April 3rd. Glenn Ford, this is 3 days before April 3rd. The incident, the vehicle accident happened on the 5th. This is April 3rd, 9:53 p.m. You see Jaden. Let's see. Let's play that. You see Jaden. You see Nini, the neighbors' kids. You see Dorothy. You see Mustafa. Now, they're all having fun. They're playing with water guns. They're all having fun. You want to tell me that you're painting Mustafa as a monster? This is video evidence inside the apartment into Mustafa's relationship. You know, I find that when I listen to the audio of what he told Charlotte that Mustafa is a monster. Now, I find that it's disturbing when you're watching the Google Nest inside the apartment. Charlotte, this is Mustafa. This is Dorothy. This is the kids. I mean, is this what Glenn Ford is talking about? I mean, when I listen to the audio, I find it so disturbing that he's sitting there painting a monster, and then he retracts and say, "I never saw anything."
Yeah. To me, that's what he said. I asked if he ever saw any injuries. And I'm recalling the conversation from memory right now.
Yeah.
So if I'm wrong, the recording is best evidence. But from what I recall, he said that he never saw it. Or maybe he said one time there was a small mark. But
But where is the evidence?
there
But,
isn't. There isn't.
He's talking. This is a lot of hearsay inside of hearsay.
I've seen a lot of videos involving Mustafa in situations where I personally, and I think it would have been reasonable for anyone to, at least at a minimum, be loud, or fear for them for their safety. So, change and have an aggressive stance for that reason. One of them is with this strip bar owner. I mean, I've never seen somebody so calm.
Exactly.
And it just does not, those are not things that someone who beats their loved one and their kids, or is so physically abusive and so abusive to the point that he, with intent and premeditatedly, drove his car into oncoming traffic to kill her and her daughter. This is
They're painting a monster. I mean, the prosecutor
don't
is painting a
understand-
monster,
I don't
but
understand.
that's not what we see on video.
I haven't seen one thing to suggest that this man even is close to losing his temper. And to physically assault somebody, that would, I would think, be a necessary part of it. He's so, even when being just, this strip club owner, he was like psycho, lost his shit.
I mean, look at this guy.
Screaming at him. He like the man's literally got foaming at the mouth. Okay.
I mean, look at this guy.
And
He's yelling at
Mustafa's
Mustafa.
just like, man, calm down.
That's not what the
Like, please,
prosecutor.
his voice is calm.
I mean, the prosecutor. If you haven't seen this video, and you listen to what the prosecutor is airing out on NBC4, the prosecutor is all over the news saying that this is a monster. This is a monster that's an angry monster that can't control his emotions. I mean, when you watch Mustafa, you see Mustafa is de-escalating, and the guy is in his face. And Mustafa's de-escalating. That's not the Mustafa that they're describing.
Not to mention that I personally, and I'll tell you one thing. When I first, one of the first times I met and started talking to Omar, I said, listen, I really, it's very kind of you guys, because I had never heard them. Anytime Dorothy was brought up, is that her name? Dorothy. Sorry, I'm bad with names. Anytime Dorothy was brought up, not only Mustafa, but his entire family has nothing but nice things to say about her. I've spoken to Mustafa on the phone, and he will to this day says she treated him like a king.
Mustafa loved Dorothy.
He was so in love. And I've straight up said, I'm someone who doesn't hold my tongue. I recognize that my opinion, which that's what it is, could offend some people, but my opinion is my opinion. I'm entitled to it. And I don't know the girl, and I hate to speak ill of the dead, but just based off the things that Glenn told me, I was just like, God, this girl is messy, right? So I was intrigued by the fact that the entire family spoke highly of her. And I said, you don't think it's crazy that she moved into an apartment where she used to live, the same building right across the hall? She used to live with her ex, and doesn't tell her current boyfriend Mustafa that? And she's done this and she's done that, and I'm repeating the things that Glenn himself told me, and all of them. There's just one forgiving family, or it doesn't bother them, and that's also not indicative of people that would do something like that.
I'll tell you, before the vehicle accident, a month before the vehicle accident, I met Dorothy. I met Dorothy twice before the vehicle accident. I met her a month before the vehicle accident and 2 weeks before the vehicle accident. And I do roadside assistant. I do mobile mechanic. My main focus for my company is the Marines that get stuck on base. but we expanded into Stafford, into Woodbridge, all the way to Maryland. So whenever I'm in the area, I call my brother, Mustafa. I'm like, hey, Moose, what are you doing? So I stopped by the apartment. I smoked a cigarette with Mustafa. Dorothy made me coffee at the balcony. And we joked about how disgusting my coffee, how I drank my coffee. I drink black coffee. And she found it disgusting and funny at the same time. And, I'm checking on my brother. I mean, who's Dorothy? Where is my brother? Okay. And all I see is this girl loves my brother. My brother loves her. The kids love my brother. We got to play Uno with everybody, with the kids, with Dorothy, with Mustafa. The dog is running around. Jaden's dog is running around in the background. And I was happy for my brother. She's telling me about her career as a nurse and how she works from home. And she's telling me about their plans. Mustafa has all these ideas on how to make money, and she's helping him in supporting his small business. He's helping her and supporting her nursing career, working from home. It's beautiful. I was happy for my brother. So I'm like, all right, man, I'll see you later. 2 weeks before the vehicle accident, the same thing. Now, the incident with the apartment and how the apartment happened to be at the same place with the ex-boyfriend, Dorothy had already filed for this apartment a long time ago, before she even meets Mustafa. When she met Mustafa, and he asked her, he tells her, why am I living in the same apartment complex with the ex-boyfriend? She tells him that I filed for this apartment before I met you. And when they talked about it, they understood each other, and nothing is malicious behind it. I mean, you're in a relationship, and she's telling you, I love you. He's telling her, I love you. I understand. I get it. Blah, blah, blah. That was it. But Investigator Drum, after the vehicle accident, took that, and he said in his police report, Charlotte, he said in his police report, Mustafa was arguing with Dorothy inside the vehicle, was angry at Dorothy inside the vehicle. And he said, Mustafa told me that. Mustafa never said that. We have a recorded, my other brother Muhammad recorded that phone call conversation that he had with this investigator. This investigator flat out falsified Mustafa's statement on the police report. As a matter of fact, we took this recording to Internal Affairs. Internal Affairs ran an investigation, and the chief of police sent us a letter admitting that they had falsified the police report. Now, a lot of people, Charlotte, they say the chief of police didn't say on the letter that he falsified the police report. He said, we found, what is it? A police misconduct?
We found
The
out
letter
that he something about breaking the policies and procedure.
breaking policy and procedure and police misconduct. Yeah, but here's the thing.
When we discussed
My
this, the important
complaint.
thing is your complaint only addressed.
Exactly. When I went into Internal Affairs, by the way, the whole entire 90-minute conversation is recorded with First Sergeant Sean Shelton with Internal Affairs. My complaint is very specific on the complaint, and I have a copy, and it was on NBC4. This investigator, Robert Drum, falsified my brother's statements on the police report. He wrote that Mustafa told him I was arguing with Dorothy. I was angry at Dorothy inside the vehicle. I have a recording that Mustafa never said that to Investigator Drum. Internal Affairs, that was a very specific complaint. Internal Affairs ran an investigation based on my complaint. So when Internal Affairs and the Chief of Police, after 3 months, sent us a letter admitting that they found police misconduct, what do you think they're addressing? The way he puts on his tie in the morning? The way he puts on his uniform in the morning? The way this investigator wears his... what police misconduct are they addressing? They're addressing the specific complaint that I filed with Internal Affairs. Now, regardless of whatever the letter says, I have a recording that this investigator flat out falsified my brother's police report and put that Mustafa was arguing with his girlfriend, angry at his girlfriend inside the vehicle. This is a flat out lie. Now, He's taking something that happened before, and there is no argument, there is no problem. Mustafa is in a relationship with Dorothy. There is no problem. There is Google Nest that shows he loves her, she loves him, the kids love Mustafa, Mustafa loved the kid. What the police department did, they went to the ex-boyfriend, Glenn Ford, who apparently, when you sit there and watch his body cam with Investigator Davis, he says, I've been watching Mustafa. I've been watching my girlfriend. Now, that's a very disturbing detail that you're watching your ex-girlfriend that moved forward with her life. As a matter of fact, he said, I've had some words with Mustafa. And when Investigator Davis pressed him on, what are you talking about? He says that Mustafa, he got a text from Dorothy that Mustafa is texting him. No, he said, I got a text from Mustafa. Investigator Davis tells him, did you talk to Mustafa on the phone? He's like, no. I got a text from Dorothy. Investigator Davis tells him, you can watch the body cam. It's on Google, on YouTube. And then Investigator Davis tells him, well, what did the text say? The text said, leave me the fuck alone. I'm moving forward with my life. I love my boyfriend. Wait a minute. And then he tells Investigator Davis, this is not Dorothy texting me. This is Mustafa. Wait a minute. Is it possible? How are you jumping to this conclusion? Could it possibly be that your ex-girlfriend Dorothy is telling you to leave her the fuck alone? That I'm happy with my boyfriend? I want to move on with my life. Stop stalking me? Like, this is ridiculous. And Investigator Davis just takes it as he takes everything that Glenn Ford says and he paints Mustafa as a monster. He said Mustafa is abusive to the kids, but then he says, I never saw anything firsthand. Mustafa is abusive to Dorothy, but I didn't see anything on hand. He says Dorothy used to text him, but I deleted the emails and any communication. Why would you delete it? Do you really think that your cell phones is not going to get subpoenaed? That's going to show up in court. You're lying about a narrative about Mustafa. Now, why is Glenn Ford lying about Mustafa? That's a very loaded question.
You know, one other thing, this is kind of related, but I remember Glenn saying to me in our conversation that Dorothy would text him from her and Mustafa's bedroom, I believe. And, oh yes, there was a bedroom. He said that she could see directly into his living room from her bedroom. And that means that he could also see directly into their bedroom from his living room. And just think about that.
But where's the proof, though? This guy's living a fantasy. Now, for a guy that says a whole lot of things.
Well, I wonder if that's true, how many times was he looking into their bedroom?
He's telling you I'm watching Mustafa. He's telling you I'm watching Dorothy.
And
he's obsessed.
You know that group of weirdos? They claimed months ago to me that Glenn Ford didn't even know what his car looked like.
Yep.
But I have in my recording him talking about talking about Mustafa, how he left the parking lot and that it annoyed him.
1 minute he says Mustafa's not speeding through the parking lot and he can hear the music. That's how he can tell that Mustafa had the sound system in the car, he says, and I can hear him. That's how I know Mustafa's there. 1 minute he says he's flying a bat out of hell through that parking lot. I mean, which one is it? You keep changing your story. Now, why is the police department taking what Glenn Ford is saying about Mustafa's driving history or his driving is he reckless? Is he not? When there's a dash camera.
Here's the thing. I have the worst driving record, right? But does that make me guilty of first-degree murder if I get into an accident?
Exactly. Well, the thing is, Mustafa has perfect driving record. He has perfect driving history.
The thing is, I don't.
Okay.
And why would...
Exactly. The conversation is, you take a look at Mustafa, and the police department is using Glenn Ford into Mustafa's driving when Mustafa's driving is perfect. He has Mustafa's driving is perfect. No speeding ticket, it's perfect. Now, there's a dash camera that shows Mustafa is not a reckless driver. He's not being reckless. He's not speeding. I mean, when you take a look at the dash camera, Mustafa's not speeding. Mustafa's not reckless. So what are you doing asking Glenford about Mustafa's driving when there is a dash camera? That's ridiculous. Now, I have a recording that I want to listen to. Glenford, on a recorded line, admit to Charlotte about him forcing kids, Dorothy's kid. Dorothy had a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old. He's talking about forcing the kids to take a shower. That he's sitting there showering them, and he's telling her, I'm not looking at them. I'm just helping them shower. Let's listen to that recording. That's disturbing.
I had to teach him how to fucking. Maybe I had to force those kids to take a fucking shower. I had to teach them how to fucking take a shower. I mean, I wasn't in there with the boys looking at them or whatever. I'm like, yo, when y'all wash up, you know, that's how you wash up. Every day when I come home from work, whatever, I spend at least an hour of my time teaching that little boy how to read, teaching that little boy how to spell.
He's forcing a 40-year-old man, Charlotte, a 40-year-old man. I mean, a 40-year-old man is forcing a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old to shower, and he's trying to convince you, I'm not looking at them. I'm just helping them shower. What are we talking about here?
It's also interesting how in the beginning of our conversation he had nothing but horrible things to say about them, and now he's acting like he was a father to them.
I can't comprehend
Anybody that actually cares about children and feels, because I think it's possible to be a father figure or you know, be a positive role model and all of that, but people that actually care do not speak like that about children that they love.
He's talking shit about Dorothy. He's talking shit about the kids. I mean, you want to claim...
He straight up said she's a horrible mother.
Yep. He's talking shit about Kylie, 16-year-old Kylie. And then, I mean, for the thing that I'm trying to comprehend is, what is a 16-year-old having a 40-year-old man wrapped around her... What does she have on, Glenford? Does she have this man wrapped around her finger? Now, on a recorded line, he said that she came up to him and asked him to kill Mustafa, and can we make it look like an accident? Let's listen to that recording.
Here's a brand new, better way to sell your house. So if you're thinking about...
Especially the older girl. And she wanted me to shoot, like, kill him.
The older daughter wanted you to kill him?
Yeah. Like, where? Like, could you please, like, if I make it look like, so, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, something, and it's like self-defense, would you do it? And I'm like, no.
That's
Why did they share him so much?
Like, the way he treats me.
If I make it look like self-defense, would you do it?
Make it look like an accident. If I make it like...
Sorry, it sounds like she was according to what he's claiming, it sounds like he's saying she wanted to have involvement in the murder.
Shoot, like, kill him.
The older daughter wanted you to kill him?
Yeah. Like, where? Like, could you please, like, if I make it look like, so, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, something, and it's like self-defense, would you do it? And I'm like, no.
Why did they share him?
Those kids hated that movie. Hated it. Especially the older daughter. And she wanted me to shoot, like, kill him.
The older daughter wanted you to kill him?
Yeah. Like, where? Like, could you please, like, if I make it look like, so, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, something, and it's like self-defense, would you do it? And I'm like,
Yes, I haven't thought of that.
Why did they share him?
He's claiming that she said, if I make it, let's say make it look like self-defense, would you do it?
Now, mind you, this is before the vehicle accident. Now,
so that suggests that if what he's saying is true, then that suggests that she was willing to be involved in the murder of your brother.
Now, we're talking about a 16-year-old
I make it look like self-defense.
that her dad works for Billy, the club owner. She, on a recorded line, she said her dad works for Billy, and she's hanging around the strippers. Now, what's a 60? I mean, Mustafa just met her mom. After that incident, a month into that Billy incident, Mustafa met her mom. He doesn't know that her dad worked for Billy. He doesn't know that she's hanging around those strippers. And by the way, those strippers really hate Mustafa after that incident because he almost ran out of business, that club out of business. I mean, he went viral and the community started boycotting the strip club for being a racist. So they start antagonizing Mustafa. You're telling me that Kylie is hanging around those strippers and now is soliciting Mustafa to get killed? And you're using her to prosecute Mustafa? This is ridiculous. Now, what do we have today? We have a police body cam where the police mechanic on a body cam admit that Mustafa's vehicle had brake failure and transmission failure. Let's watch this body cam.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen this before. I'll listen.
You want the calipers removed, or you can see brakes appear to be brand new.
These two. If I was to ask you if they were installed and functioning properly, would you need to remove the calipers for that?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as we can make sure that whoever put them on look like they did them correctly and look like they're not causing any issues, then I'm okay without the calipers coming off.
Visually, they look good. Is there a brake pedal even left in it?
Yeah.
If I could give you a pipe or a bar to push on it, could I see if it physically stopped its rotation?
Yeah, that's fine. I think we could do that. Okay.
Hey, it's still attached. It hasn't lost.
Hey, Cruz, I'm going to push the brake. He's going to spin that. Can you? That's fine. On your cam, can you record the stopping of the motion?
36. Well, we can do it the other way. I can push and you
No, that's fine.
The other one?
No, I was. Go forward. Go forward. All right.
He's gonna push on the.
Yeah, it works. It works? Okay.
So it applied and released.
Okay.
You want me to do the other one?
Yeah. Just tell me when you're ready. You ready?
Yep.
I'm applying it.
Alright, this one's still going.
That one's still going?
Yeah, this one's still going.
Okay.
So what he's talking about is the police mechanic.
That's fine.
The police officer would use a bar to depress the brake, and the police mechanic would spin the tire. And he tells the police officer that the tire it keeps going. What he's talking about is there's brake failure. So in Mustafa's vehicle, what they found is the back passenger caliper did not work. The front passenger caliper did not work. This is about over an hour-long body cam, and it goes into detail about his brakes. There's mechanical failure in the vehicle. That the drive shaft disconnected from the engine, there's transmission failure. Now, the computer inside the vehicle is consistent with, it says that Mustafa, the whole entire time, his foot is on the brake and only on the brake, but the RPM is going high. The RPM only goes high if you're hitting the gas or something where the drive shaft disconnected from the engine. The computer inside the vehicle shows that the RPM is shooting up really high and Mustafa's foot is on the brake. The vehicle did not have brake. Now, when you watch the dash camera, you see that Dorothy, the 5-year-old Empress, shifts forward. I don't know if you paid attention to that.
Yes, because they said that he didn't hit the brake, and in order for the car seat to fly forward,
Exactly.
that would imply that he just hit the brake.
Exactly. Now, if you go through here, and as a matter of fact, one of the investigators, both of the investigators, Investigator Drum and Investigator Davis, on their own body cam, admit that all those are Mustafa skid marks, and Mustafa cleared all the vehicles, but the SUV turned into him, T-boned him. Now, you won't find that on the Discovery. You're not going to see that in the police reports.
Of course not, because they have one thing that they want to prove, and that is that he's a monster.
And they seal off the body cam, and they go off by police reports. The police report is falsified, and the police officer gets on the stand, Chad Mason, and says Mustafa did not have any skid marks. NBC4, Inside Nova, and all the media outlet repeat what the investigator is saying. There were no skid marks. But when you watch the body cam, you see that the investigator is saying all these are Mustafa skid marks. Mustafa hit the brake, but the brake gave out. The police mechanic inspect the vehicle and find out there's brake failure, that the drive shaft disconnected from the engine. Let me fast forward to the dash camera. Now, let me see, I'm going to put it right here so that way. And if you go to 33, if you watch Mustafa's body, it shifts forward. His upper right shoulder is being pushed forward. He's depressing the brake. You see Empress in the back. She's shifting forward. That's Mustafa hitting the brake. That's Mustafa attempting to stop the vehicle. Now, the brake gave out. The back passenger caliper, the front passenger caliper did not work. The drive shaft disconnected from the engine. You know, in court, the prosecutor says, Your Honor, this is because we towed it. How? This is not a four-wheel drive vehicle. You see what I'm saying?
About cars, but
if it's four-wheel,
it sounds like she was desperate for some sort of...
100%. She's desperate for saying that this has nothing to do with the vehicle accident. How? How is it mechanical failure, brake failure, and transmission failure, the drive shaft disconnected? It makes absolutely no sense for the process. We towed it the wrong. What do you mean? This is not a four-wheel drive vehicle.
First of all,
You tow it?
What kind of obligation do they have to handle the evidence of what they suspect to be a crime without fucking damaging it? I mean, wouldn't that render the entire fucking thing? Like, I don't know how it works when you're investigating a car accident, but I know that if your steps are not taken as per protocol with collecting any other kind of evidence, then that evidence can be thrown out. So if
Exactly.
she's saying that the manner in which they towed this evidence of a crime caused the evidence to be skewed, then the car shouldn't be used as evidence at all.
What I find really disturbing is this vehicle was on a flatbed. Charlotte was on a flatbed.
But if she said that in court, if she said...
We destroyed the evidence, Your Honor. Like, are you kidding me?
If that's the case, then what else about their investigation detailing shit with the car, it could not be accurate.
There is a lot.
It sounds like she just admitted
There is a lot.
that they caused some sort of... They've rendered this car unreliable for any investigation. That's what I see out of this.
You
Fuck
know...
the rest of it. That should be thrown out as evidence.
You know what I find really interesting is when you look at this vehicle, the vehicle is... I want to pull up a picture.
except for the
They towed it from the back. The vehicle is at a retainer wall, so they towed it from the back. This is not a four-wheel drive vehicle. So when you lift up the back and you put it on a flatbed, there is no way that you can cause damage to the drive shaft disconnecting from the engine.
So where is
This
the
is
drive shaft?
it's disconnected.
Where is it? On what part of the car?
It's under the car.
Just I don't. Just so
Let me show you. Let me show you a
just so
picture.
other people can try and have an idea of why it
Yeah.
is that you cannot cause that damage when you're doing it backwards.
Exactly.
You know
Now,
about cars, the rest of us don't. So
Okay.
break it down like you're explaining
So-
to my 9-year-old.
all right. So this is the drive shaft.
And can you explain on what portion? The front, the back, the middle?
Yeah. So Charlotte. So this is the drive shaft
Uh huh.
disconnecting from the engine.
Okay, but
All right.
what is that like? Where the front portion of the car? Where is it?
So you've got an engine right behind it. There's a transmission.
Okay, so
Okay,
you got
and
the
there's a
engine in the
drive
front,
shaft.
right behind it.
In the middle, there's a drive shaft.
Okay, so it's towards the front of the car or the middle.
Toward the front.
Underneath.
Toward the front, you have the engine, and right behind it is a transmission.
Now, is this all included under the hood?
Under the vehicle.
Or is it under
under the vehicle.
Okay, so they towed it from the back.
They towed it from the back. This is not a four-wheel drive vehicle.
Yeah.
This is a two-wheel drive vehicle. So once
Can
you
you explain
lift,
to some of
okay.
us that don't
So
understand what that
all
means?
right. So once you lift the back, there's no more pressure on any
And those wheels.
on any of the exactly. So none of the wheels have any more pressure. You lift it from the back. You have no pressure on any other on the rest of the wheels.
Pressure is what could potentially.
She's claiming that there is pressure, four-wheel drive, you have pressure on all tires, and once you drag the vehicle, you cause damage.
Okay, so I had a Volvo
Yeah.
XC90, a 2021 Volvo XC90. It ended up being 11, but there was a lot of debate about whether or not, because I had a flat tire, whether or not they could tow it a certain way.
Yes, that's a four-wheel drive vehicle.
Okay.
Okay? Exactly. See, give me a narrative. This prosecutor needs to give out a narrative that actually makes sense. I mean, your own mechanic is saying there's brake failure and there is transmission failure. And you want to say, oh, we towed it the wrong way. Well, how did you tow it, ma'am? Because this is not a four-wheel drive vehicle. It's ridiculous. And one other thing about this vehicle accident.
Yeah.
There is no way that the damage is caused because of the accident, because of the impact.
That's
There is no way.
important to-
That's important. That's important. She's claiming that because of the impact. No, actually, well, she can't. She's not even claiming that because the police mechanic is telling her all the lines are intact. So this is not because of the impact.
Okay.
Okay. And if you see the hollow area around the drive shaft, it's not squished in. If this is because of the impact,
So if this was
This-
caused because of the accident,
it would be squished in.
because that's what. Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. It would be squished in, and that's why the drive shaft disconnected.
Do you guys
from.
plan on getting an expert to?
Of
review
course,
this?
the prosecutor is blocking our effort to, by law, Mustafa. See, you see the hollow area around the drive shaft? Let me see.
Have
So-
they destroyed the vehicle already? Can they even go look at it?
They chopped up the vehicle.
Get the fuck out of here! They destroyed the evidence.
Charlotte, they chopped up the vehicle and they staged it to make it look like a head-on collision.
Can you
And
explain what? what do
okay,
you mean?
so the vehicle looks
I
one
don't
way.
know. What chopped up means to me is when people take parts from one car and put it put it in a stolen car. I don't. I'm like.
Let me
literally
see
like
if I have a
kindergartner
picture.
when it comes to cars.
All right, let me see if I have pictures of the vehicle chopped up. Really quick, before we go into that, I want to show the drive shaft. So there is no way that this damage is caused because of the impact. See, right there. You see the hollow area around the drive shaft? It's not squished in. If it was squished in, then you can say because of the impact, the drive shaft disconnected. This happened when Mustafa hit the brake, and the computer inside the vehicle tells you that's exactly what happened. The only way you can have an RPM that shoots up where Mustafa's foot is only on the brake and he's hitting the brake and the vehicle's not stopping is when the drive shaft disconnects. Now, this is vehicle failure. This is mechanical failure. This is vehicle failure. Mustafa is hitting the brake and the vehicle doesn't stop. I mean, Mustafa tells the investigator Chad Mason, I hit the brake. The vehicle doesn't stop. It's vibrating. What did the police mechanics say? There's brake failure. There's transmission failure. I mean, how long are we going to keep beating this horse? The evidence is black and white. He's telling you there's mechanical failure. But what did they do? They seal off the body cam. And they falsify the police reports. There is a video of the vehicle chopped up, and let me see if I can pull it up. All right. Charlotte, do me a favor. I'm going to pull up NBC4, and when they reported on Mustafa's case, and on the news, the vehicle, they took pictures of the vehicle. NBC4. Okay, so if you put NBC4, Mustafa, let's see. You're going to see pictures of the vehicle, of Mustafa's vehicle. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, so Charlotte, this is a picture of Mustafa's vehicle.
Holy shit.
Okay. Well, wait until you see what they've done with the vehicle afterwards.
Did that thing catch on fire?
What are they doing here? Why are they chopping up at the vehicle?
It looks like they cut the top off.
But why are they chopping up at the vehicle?
Why doesn't it not look the same? This looks different than that.
They're staging the vehicle. They're saying that this is a head-on collision.
But
this is the vehicle. They took pictures of it at the scene.
go back to this one.
Inside the police department, they're actively chopping up at the vehicle. Okay, you see right here, the frame is intact, right?
Yeah.
Well, later you see that they bend the frame, they bend the front of the vehicle, and they chop up the roof. Yeah, why? I mean, I want to show everybody. All right, so right here on top is what the vehicle looks like. At the bottom is what they did to the vehicle inside the police department. Now, why are they chopping up at the vehicle, staging it? They're staging it to make it look like a head-on collision. What the idea is, they want to take these pictures, not the one on top, the one on the bottom, and they want to play it to the jury in court and say, Your Honor, this is the vehicle. This is a head-on collision. That's consistent with the falsified police report. This is not a head-on collision. Mustafa cleared the vehicle, cleared all the vehicle, made it all the way to the other side, and the SUV turned into him. But what did they do? They want to chop up the vehicle and say, this is a head-on collision. I mean, why are they chopping up at the vehicle? Why is the vehicle, I mean, Charlotte, why does the vehicle look like this?
These two cars from the accident scene and that, they don't even look the same. Where's the doors here?
Ask the police department.
So are you sure this is even your brother's car?
100, I've got the body cams.
No, this one that they're chopping up, are you sure that's his?
That's his car. That's in his Discovery.
Why doesn't it look like this one?
Charlotte, that's in his Discovery. In his Discovery.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What
I'm
am I
wondering if they
mean?
just got another car that looks like his and tried to make it...
That's the car.
This thing doesn't have doors. Did they...
This door is open.
Oh, it's
The,
open.
yeah, the
I'm
back door is
slow.
open. Jesus Christ, Charlotte.
Oh, I
this
see
is
it now. Listen, I'm blind, okay? I see it now. There's the doors. They're open. Okay. I'm sorry.
this is from his discovery.
Yes.
This is from the body cams. This is what the if you go to NBC4 and you look at the vehicle, this
Yes.
is the vehicle. They
Okay.
they took pictures,
If you-
and then in his discovery, you have Mustafa's vehicle, and they're actively chopping the vehicle up. And the best thing they can say at the time when we asked Casey Stevens, they tell us we were extracting everybody. That's why we chopped up the vehicle. We had
put it in
to
there.
exactly. And then later, their narrative is we were trying to get the computer inside the car. Now I'm a fucking mechanic, and the computer inside the car is held by two 10 millimeters. You don't need to chop up the fucking car like this
Looks like they took the jaws of life.
and destroy the car and stage it to make it look like a head-on collision to get the computer inside the car. I mean, you're charging Mustafa with murder. This is a major piece of evidence into his case, and you're staging it for the prosecution?
That's crazy.
By the way, all this material are sealed off by the county. There is no way you can find out that the vehicle is getting staged, that the police reports are falsified, because according to the county, everything is sealed off by Judge Carol Weimer. We have one of their own, a police officer, supplied me with a flash drive that have police body cam and discovery that shows what they're doing behind closed door for the past 2 years. Now, I have a body cam. I mean, one thing that's really interesting, that when you look at the SUV, you see that front, the right front of the SUV. It's intact. Yeah. So the front right side of the SUV.
Okay.
The left side is completely damaged.
Yes.
But the right side is intact. It's not touched. It's perfect.
Yes.
How could this be a head-on collision? How could this be a head-on collision? They say that this is a head-on collision, right? That the SUV, that Mustafa positioned his
I
vehicle.
remember looking at that. There's some.
Let me draw this out for
There's
you.
some sort of aerial footage, and even the skid marks from Mustafa's car, they're not going as if it was a head-on collision. They're going towards that wall.
Mustafa cleared the vehicle.
They were going this way.
Exactly. Mustafa took a lane.
Like if this is the road.
Yeah.
This way.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's going straight,
Yes.
and to pass the car in front of him, he takes a lane,
Yes.
and he thinks this is a regular lane.
Yes.
Now, before you know it, Dumfries is a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Investigator Drum on a body cam says, I have 4 fatalities where 4 vehicle ended up in oncoming traffic because that road is confusing. Now, Mustafa,
That's definitely. Yeah.
this is what Investigator Drum, the one that falsified the police report, says on his own body cam. Now, Mustafa takes a lane, and when he realized this is a U-turn lane, he tries to get back into traffic, but there's a vehicle on his right. Charlotte, you have a lane, you're in a lane, and you realize that this is a U-turn lane. You try to get back into traffic, but there's a vehicle that blocks you.
I'm just saying, in order for it to be a head-on collision,
But-
if this is the lane that we didn't know at the time possibly was a turning lane, right?
They're saying that Mustafa
So-
drove into that
He
vehicle.
would have needed to go this way, but didn't he
Exactly.
go that way?
Yes, and he made it all the
That's
way
what
to the
I'm
other
trying to
side.
say.
Exactly. And Mustafa, and then by the way, the investigator on his own body cam.
Even
Let me pull up that
even
body
in
cam
the
for you.
dash camera they show, you can tell he's not driving into the oncoming traffic. He's trying to get out of the way.
But exactly, and this is the biggest piece of evidence right here. This is the SUV that T-boned him.
Yeah.
Okay, they say that that Mustafa repositioned the vehicle, and the SUV slammed into him.
You know what? We
Oh
were
my
talking
God.
about this before,
Look,
and
I mean,
didn't understand.
look-
You know
look at this.
why? 'Cause
Yeah.
I forgot that these pictures are inverted.
Exactly. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. But you see, so I want everybody to see.
It doesn't look. When he's talking about the right side of the car,
Yeah.
it's because in this picture that you're looking at, it looks like the left side of the car.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's
I
inverted.
get it
Yeah.
now.
But they're saying that the SUV T-boned him. Now, how is it possible if the front right side is intact? Now, I'll tell you what happened Mustafa clears the vehicle all the way to the other side, and the SUV turns into him.
Yeah.
The axle is completely ripped off.
Yeah.
The SUV axle is and this is not me saying it. This is Investigator Drum saying it on his own body cam. I'm gonna play the body cam for you. You know, it's one thing if I'm saying it. This is consistent with the picture of the SUV. How could this be a head-on collision? I mean, the front right should be squished in. All of it should be squished in. But the front right is intact, which means that Mustafa cleared the SUV and the SUV turned into him. Okay, let me play the body cam of Investigator Drum. And they lie about Mustafa not having skid marks. See if I can find that video. I need to do a better job of organizing all these videos.
Yeah.
It's a lot,
How
by the
long
way.
has Robert Drum even been in that position of being the traffic investigator?
Crash investigator, about 20 years.
He's been doing that for 20 years.
Just about 20 years. Now, you know what I find interesting? When we took the audio of the conversation between Mustafa and the investigator, that he falsified Mustafa's police report.
Yeah.
Internal Affairs, Sean Shelton says, Investigator Robert Drum is not qualified and doesn't have there is specific training or certificates that he had, the education, he says, to be qualified to handle this case.
Did you ever hear about that case out of Boston?
He's yeah.
That case out of Boston, or around Boston, where, what's the name of the case? And the police department, the theory, they had this woman on trial saying that she killed her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And come to find out, like, there's a lot of evidence that his partner, he was a police officer.
Yeah.
That his partners killed him.
I heard about that case.
And there was somebody that was, like, their crash investigator, and he was giving testimony saying why he knows she did it because of some missing brake light cover.
Yeah.
And reading the computer module that says when you hit the brake how fast you're going, all that.
Yeah.
But then when the defense attorney actually is questioning this guy on how are you qualified to be investigating?
Yeah.
This guy didn't know even the basics of vehicle mechanics. I mean, he made this dude look like an absolute fool.
You know what I find really interesting?
I wish you would do that to this cocksucker.
You know, Chad Mason sits on a stand, and Blake Weiner is asking him about the details of the accident, and Chad Mason says, there was no brakes. There was no skid marks. There is no skid marks. He said that on the stand. By the way, this is circuit court.
Isn't there aerial footage?
This is circuit court. Charlotte, circuit court. It's on the record.
And it's really expensive to get those transcripts, but you can also ask them. You just want the testimony of this guy.
And exactly. And then he says there are no skid marks, and Mustafa did not clear the vehicle. Now, I find it interesting, Investigator Chad Mason, because you're on circuit court. Let's watch your body cam of what you're saying about Mustafa's vehicle on the scene with Investigator Robert Drum.
Let's hear it.
He says, okay, what did they say on NBC4 when they first aired this out? They said that 5-year-old Empress was not restrained, right? Remember?
Yes.
That was a big deal.
Didn't they strap her in? I think there's video of it.
The dash camera shows
Yes.
that Mustafa is telling
Not
Dorothy
to mention that car seat would have flown all the way forward if it wasn't strapped
exactly.
in.
And here on a body cam, he's admitting that she was strapped in. Let's watch that body cam.
So driver's not buckled. Neither is mom's right shotgun.
Awesome, but at least the kid was.
Kid was buckled. I'm guessing she was half ejected because that whole side's free bars. She was buckled.
Yeah.
truck will be coming in tomorrow.
So you see your marks now, Drum?
The AOI is somewhere around here. That comes all the way back to about right here.
I think they hit. He was in that y'all. He just continued to spun her around, almost in place. Because your marks end right around in here.
So
figure that away. So I mean, those are definitely theirs. AOI somewhere. It doesn't come off till here.
So you think that's the free tire?
I think so because it comes here. It's causing the infinity.
All right, so we'll pause this video until our beautiful private investigator comes back to the podcast. What we're gonna do is, after we finish watching this body cam, we're gonna take a deep dive into the dash camera, because I think the details in watching this dash camera is very important. This prosecutor is terrified that the community is going to watch this dash camera. For a prosecutor that screams Mustafa is guilty, why is she terrified that the community is going to see the evidence that you're saying is guilty? The prosecutor says, I have a dash camera. Well, let's watch this dash camera. Why are you terrified to have the community see this dash camera? Why is it that you chop up this dash camera and you piece 4 seconds, 5 seconds of a deformed version of a dash camera and you'll release it on NBC4, but you'll refuse to release the whole entire thing? Now we have evidence that the police department cut this dash camera, manually cut this dash camera before impact. A dash camera does not stop before impact. Here we have a dash camera that's cut before impact.
Did you order it?
Now, I'm going to bring... We're going to play the dash camera on this iPad. And there's a really interesting detail that show that this police department manually cut this dash camera. This police department say that the dash camera just stopped before impact. First of all, there is no way that a dash camera would just stop. Now, let's entertain that theory for 2 seconds. This is a Rexon dash camera. It's a Rexon dash camera. It has an outer lens and it has an inner lens. So it sees, it records inside the vehicle and it records outside the vehicle. But they're connected to the same computer in the dash camera. So the dash camera sees records the outside and it records inside the vehicle. But those two lenses are connected to the same computer inside this dash camera. If it were to stop before impact, for whatever reason, it would stop on a frame level. Why is it that Mustafa's dash camera stops at 2 different frames? The outside is 8.3 seconds and the inside is 8.0. Now what that shows is that this dash camera is manually cut. This police department is so incompetent that they cut this dash camera on seconds and not frame level. They cut it at 8 seconds, but they didn't cut it. Let's watch what I'm talking about. Let's pull up the dash camera and count the frames. There we go. All right, so this is Mustafa's dash camera. Okay. This is the outsides. This is the insides. See if everybody can see it. There we go. Now, why is it that when you play this dash camera, the insides stops before the outsides? Why does it stop? Why does the inside turn off? At 8.0, it turns off and it continues rolling on the outside. This police department is so incompetent. See, if you count the frames, It's 8.3. The outside is 8.3 frames. The inside, 8.2, 8.1, 8.0. There we go, 7.9. So at 8 seconds on the inside, it stops. It turns off. Once I go 8 seconds, it turns off. But the outside continues rolling. I mean, this is proof that this police department manually cut the dash camera. Now, what is going on that this police department wants to cut the dash camera? Their narrative is that Mustafa did not have a reaction. Well, first of all, Mustafa is the driver. Mustafa is focused on making sure that he doesn't lose control of this vehicle. And two, what are you talking about, Mustafa not having a reaction? Investigator Drum admit on his body cam that Mustafa is sticking out his tongue. This is a very distinctive feature that when Mustafa panics, he sticks out his tongue. He goes, he sticks out his tongue. In this dash camera, you see Mustafa's jaw is open. And then he sticks out his tongue. Is that not a good enough reaction for you? That the man is fucking panicking? I mean, what do you want him to dance for you? I mean, the man is driving the vehicle. He's attempting to continue to be able to control the vehicle. What do you want him to throw his head in the air? Like, what do you want him to do? The man is fucking panicking. His jaw is fucking wide open. And his tongue is inside his, sticking out. Let's watch the dash camera.
First, let me get your permission. You decide what you want to do first. I was going to message the DON and the
At 7.0,
as the abuse coordinator, and I think the fact that if you're just that Tiana can't be trusted.
at 6.7, he began to have a reaction. His jaw is open.
I didn't want to write it. I wanted to get your guidance before I put anything in the truck.
At 7.0, his jaw is more open. Hence, he's reacting to a panic situation.
I will.
At 7.7, he sticks out his tongue, reacting to the vehicle accident.
I haven't told anybody. I mean, it's normal for anybody to call me.
And then, mysteriously, the dash camera cuts off. That's interesting. So you're telling me when Mustafa began to react, just after Dorothy reacts, you cut it off.
Well, that's okay. They can't force you to go back.
But you forgot about his tongue. That and the investigator Drum, is panicked. He says there is a reaction. He's sticking out his tongue. This police department is so incompetent that they cut it while Mustafa is reacting. And they didn't cut it at the frame level. That
I
now
was going to do WhatsApp, and I can tell if they read the message or not, but I'm not the one that. So
they're busted.
abuse is required.
I mean, is this not proof enough that this dash camera is cut? Now, for the past 2 years,
They have a 2-hour timeline to notify.
if you ask the police department, they tell you that
You should just take your chances.
this dash camera does not have audio. There's no audio. How is that possible? This is a Rexon dash camera. It's a very expensive dash camera. And if you want to buy a dash camera, you would go to Best Buy. And the best dash camera at Best Buy is a Rexon dash camera. It's a very well-known brand. Now, this dash camera 100% has audio. But this police department claims there is no audio, and they want to hire a lip reader.
And if there's any
Now, The discovery is sealed. But now that we have the discovery, we find a document in the discovery where Officer Zymus, with the digital forensic, admit that this dash camera does in fact have audio, and the audio is on the SD card. So what are they doing? Talking about hiring a lip reader? All over NBC4, the prosecutor says, if I get a lip reader, Dorothy is going to say, Empress is in the car. First of all, I was at court, and I have a recording of the proceeding that the prosecutor never said, I have a lip reader, or I hired a lip reader. She said, if I get a lip reader. Now, that's a big difference. If I get a lip reader and I have a lip reader are two different things. First of all, the prosecutor is not a lip reader, so she can't insinuate what the lip reader is going to say. She said, if I get a lip reader. Dorsey says, Empress is in the vehicle. Why would you need a lip reader if the audio is right there? For the prosecutor that screams that Mustafa is guilty, why are you terrified of the audio? Oh, wait a minute. It's going to show that they're not arguing. You're going to hear that they're not arguing. As a matter of fact, we don't need your audio because it shows there is no argument inside the vehicle. There's no argument inside the vehicle. This investigator flat out falsified the police report, and he said, Mustafa told me I was arguing inside the vehicle. Now, let's watch NBC4 and what NBC4 is talking about.
New at 5 tonight, a Prince William County judge has changed his mind about giving bond to a man charged with murder for a crash that killed his girlfriend and her little girl.
Prosecutors came to court armed with new details about the crime to persuade the...
For tonight, newly released dashcam video shows the seconds before a car crashed into oncoming traffic and killed a woman and her young daughter.
Now, the man who has been jailed for more than a year, accused of intentionally causing that crash, may soon bond out of jail. He faces 2 charges of second-degree murder.
Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Julie Carey was in court today when prosecutors presented evidence, including video from that dash cam. And we want to warn you, some of what you're about to see is disturbing.
Now, mind you, Julie Carey here
the dash cam video the prosecution played for the judge to try
is pretending that she doesn't have the dash camera. Now, I have text messages that go back 2 years ago, almost a year and a half, where I texted Julie Carey the full dash camera. At the time, the prosecutor gave the dash camera to Casey Stevens, and they told Casey Stevens, our previous attorney, not to give this dash camera out to anybody. So what I did, I went on Amazon, and I bought one of those pinhole cameras, and I sat in his office, I recorded the whole thing, and I have it. I took it. And I sent it. I texted it. I put it on YouTube. And I texted it to Julie Carey. And as a matter of fact, that's how I got the police department to admit there is a dash camera. Because if you remember in the beginning with the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, they weren't saying there's a dash camera. They were radio silent about the dash camera. And they said that Mustafa was arguing inside the car. They falsified his police report. Now, once the dash camera came out, they couldn't lie about Mustafa anymore. But here, a year later, Julie Carey pretends that she never got the dash camera. She says she just got the dash camera. What are you talking about, lady? I mean, I can pull up my text messages with Julie Carey, with NBC4, and show you that I texted her the dash camera. Now, is she lying to the community? Yes. Is she opening herself for a civil lawsuit? Yes. I'm a paralegal. I know how to write my motions. I'm going to file lawsuits against Julie Carey, media outlet that are engaging in defaming my brother and lying about my brother. And let's really set the record straight and see what happens. We're going to engage in a lot of lawsuits. Mustafa has a lawsuit against the jail that beat him. and abused him and denied him medical. From jail, Mustafa used to be a paralegal. And Mustafa has a lawsuit against the jail. This is Mustafa inside the jail getting beaten up by correctional officers because we're fighting for him on the outside. We're exposing that they're lying about Mustafa. Correctional officer, 6 giant correctional officer, would enter my brother's cell and beat him, hoping that they're going to silence my brother.
Our rights, none of us will have them.
6 giant correctional officers enter my brother's cell, beat him, abuse him, and take out a naked, handcuffed Mustafa behind his back, unconscious Mustafa, and while they're still hitting him on the head, they're still kicking him, they carry him from one cell into another cell. And I love our private. So Mustafa filed a 20-page lawsuit for Judge Hilton in federal court to move this lawsuit to the discovery phase. And we're going to get this jail accountable. We're going to get this county accountable for what they're doing. And our beautiful Charlotte wants to say something.
Okay, so this incident that occurred, I believe, on May 20... Hold on, let me find my little notes here. That's what I was doing when you guys were talking earlier. I was going and highlighting shit. Where did my notes go? Sorry, bear with me. Okay. So this incident that occurred on... Was it May 24th? Is that right?
May 24th. Yeah, May 24th, 2023.
That's 417. That's 417. This I'm just trying to find the CO's statements here. Okay. So on May 24th, this guy's name is Dick.
Yep.
What coincidence? He's a fucking dick, right? All right, so I'm going to read, this is from incident number 230-524842, author John Dick. He, I assume, is one of the COs. And it was at 3:43. So this is earlier in the day. Oh, actually, this is earlier in the day. This is not the one where they carried him down the stairs. Okay. Here it is. So this one is from F. Asiedo, A-S-I-E-D-U. And it's May 24th at 21:04. So 9:04 p.m. He makes this note. And date recorded. Report date at 21:04. The date recorded, the time he wrote the note is just before 11 p.m. And he says, whoops. He says that, all right, inmate Al-Jazari became aggressive and pulling away from them. At this time, due to the wet floor, inmate Al-Jazari, MJO Thompson, and MJO Tipton lost balance and went to the ground. I then handcuffed Al-Jazari while he was on the floor. Tipton assisted MJO Thompson with escorting him out of the cell and to cell number 1. So that's where he's coming from, upstairs to downstairs. I took the handcuffs off when we got to cell 1. Inmate Al-Jazari received a cut on his chin during the incident. Medical was on unit at the time, and he refused medical. All right, let's go to the next guy's note. This one is by Tipton. And this is May 24th. He's writing this note at 22:45. All right, so this is 10:45 p.m. And he says, once the door to cell 32 opened, I gained control of inmate Al-Jazari's left arm by placing both of my wrists onto his left wrist. I don't understand that, really. Could you kind of, what is that? How do you put your...
I'll tell you, this is the video where they carry an unconscious Mustafa, handcuffed, naked.
They did a use of force report for this, and they caught...
And you see that, why is it, exactly, why is this guy hitting him? Why?
Now, do you see any of these guys are wet?
No.
I don't see, they said that they were all wet.
You know how did you see him kick him? Did you see him hit him? He hits him on the head, and then he kicks him. I mean, Mustafa's handcuffed at that point. Mustafa is being carried.
If they all fell, and they're saying that... Okay, so let me get to that point. Let me not get ahead of myself.
And they said 3 correctional officers. This is 6 correctional officers. In their report, it says 3.
Okay, so listen. So then he says... okay, so inmate Al-Jazari then became aggressive by pulling away from the officers At this time, due to the wet floor, inmate Al-Jazari, MJO Thompson, and myself lost balance and went to the ground. Once inmate Al-Jazari was handcuffed, I assisted MJO Thompson with escorting him out of the cell to cell 1. Inmate Al-Jazari received a cut on his chin during the incident. Okay. Oh, and then now here. Okay. So here's the thing. I want you to notice that all they say happened there is because he had a cut on his chin. So to explain that, they're claiming that they slipped on water, right? You guys can go watch this video. He's got it on his YouTube and TikTok, or right here if you want to zoom in. No, none of them look like they have water on them, okay? None of them, from what I can see, right? Now, I think that's important to note. I want you to specifically look and see if Mustafa looks like he's soaking wet, right? And I think it's interesting, not only do they not mention something that comes up later, but there's no evidence of any water, okay?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
now
Exactly.
this is the Prince William Manassas Regional Adult Detention Center PREA investigation note, okay? So this is done by their version of Internal Affairs. It says that the footage shows officers escorting inmate Al-Jazari, fully clothed and under his own power, down the stairs and into a cell located on the first floor. It also shows new clothing being brought to the cell by an officer. And it says multiple officers were asked what occurred inside the cells during the alleged incident. Jail Officer Thompson and Officer Timpton both stated that the inmate Al-Jazari was uncooperative throughout the entire process. They both stated that due to the floor being wet and Al-Jazari's lack of cooperation, all three of them slipped and fell to the floor, resulting in all three becoming wet. And then it says, here's something interesting. Why isn't this mentioned at all in their report? It wasn't until he and his family are very, very loudly claiming that there was sexual abuse, okay? It's not until this allegation of sexual abuse is being discussed that this is said in the PREA investigation. Al-Jazari remained uncooperative and his wet clothing...
The guy is unconscious.
And his wet clothing had to be physically removed from him. So don't you think that the COs would have wanted to mention that they stripped this man naked inside of the cell when they took him to the new one? They knew that they had to explain away the laceration to his chin. So they went ahead and said, oh, we slipped on water and that's how that occurred, right? But they didn't think maybe somebody was going to listen to the fact that he was saying he was sexually assaulted. Any CO or officer would have included the fact that they took his clothing and why. Unless they were, in my opinion, unless they were intentionally trying to leave it out because they didn't think it was going to become an issue. Now it's become an issue and they say we had to physically remove it because it was wet. First of all, since when do they give a fuck if your clothing's wet? It's not dangerous to the inmate to have a wet... It's water, bro.
Exactly.
It'll fucking dry.
Exactly.
Second of all,
Exactly.
it doesn't look like he has any fucking water on him in this video. And then I'd like to also point out that he says he was going under his own will. So I'm going to go now to so what happened was his family went to some sort of public meeting.
Yep, I'm going to
and
pull
they
it up.
demanded that this be investigated, the claims of sexual assault. And for those of you that don't know, I'm a nurse, and there's several different kinds of abuse. Sexual abuse is one of them. And sexual abuse does not always have to mean that, which in this case I can't remember, but I believe there were some very serious allegations. But for the record, sexual abuse can be, making unwanted sexual advances, taking photos of somebody while they're naked, especially somebody that has no control. You're in a position of authority. It's more than just penetration, okay?
Charles, this is the meeting that we went to for the.
This is what led to the next report I'm going to read you.
Yeah.
From Middle Virginia,
And I want to let you all know that the eyes of the community are watching your reaction, and this is spreading.
It was a
to
board
Middle
meeting for
Virginia,
all the
to
board
Florida,
members
to Bath County.
that's in charge of the inmates inside the jail. And we went there, we talked about Mustafa.
Allowed 2 members of MS-13 into his cell to stab him for 8 minutes. His mother threatened he's not guilty of a crime. There's no way to convict him. His intention. He didn't say he did it. The officer that says that Mustafa can confess to that crime, he needs to be fired because he falsified a police report. He's caught. I heard testimony from Mustafa that he said the back of his head was like broccoli. I watched a testimony of the prisoner that was in the cell across from Mustafa, a southern-sounding white guy that you wouldn't think would give a crap. And he said that Mustafa's hands were handcuffed behind his back, and they were picking him up and dropping him over and over and laughing.
Did you hear what? Did you hear? At the time when we say that Mustafa was beaten, that the back of his head looked like broccoli, we didn't have this evidence. Charlotte, these are the pictures from Mustafa's injuries. Okay, look at his head, look at his arm, look at his head.
Yes, I've seen that.
What? Why is my brother's head look like that? I mean, at the time, we sit there in front of Sheriff Glenn Hill, Chief of Police Peter Newsham, Commonwealth Amy Ashworth. At the time, the FBI got involved, and they all tell us nothing happened. Your brother is good to go. Well, now we have the pictures of my brother's injuries. We have the CCTV where my brother is handcuffed, handcuffed behind his back, naked, and they're still beating him. He's unconscious. And they're dragging him from one cell into another cell.
Okay, so here's because of what the demands that they made and the complaints that they made at this public meeting, an officer from Prince William County actually went and did a third report. Okay?
Detective S.D. Long, that's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so. So here, now remember, in the PREA report done by the Internal Affairs for the actual jail, they said that he was going down the stairs, on his own free will. Well, I'd like to note that this officer from Prince William County Police Department said, Lieutenant Kepler provided me the video footage from the pod and the hallways from the incident. There are no cameras inside the cells. The footage shows Mustafa being carried from his cell down the stairs and into a hallway. That doesn't say he's going on his own free will. And I also find it interesting that he doesn't even bother to question the witness to this event because he was given by the jail a report on that witness from a prior incident where they claim that he heard voices. And so without talking to this guy, he determines he's not a credible witness based off something that the people who are being accused of sexually assaulting Mustafa give him. Now, if I were actually trying to rule out a crime, first of all, just because someone hears voices, if that's true, on one date, that does not mean that they're not stable now, because there are medications, and I would expect the jail to treat somebody who is in an active psychosis. Okay.
You know what I find really interesting is at the time the FBI says we can't track down Richard Brooks, the witness, the inmate that saw everything, the inmate that has his voices on here. This is, by the way, the when you watch the video, this video, this is the inmate. That's him on the phone. This his testimony. I collected an affidavit from this kid. Okay. Now at the time when the FBI got involved, they said we can't find Richard Brooks. Can you find him? Inside the Manassas field office, Samantha Adams, Rachel Adams, FBI agent. I'm mixing up their names. I'm mixing up those agents' names. The FBI. The point is, if you can find them, the FBI agents tell us, I can't find this guy. What are you talking about? We gave you his name. We gave you a recording, and he was inside the jail from September. And when you got involved and you're telling us you can't find him, in December, he's inside your jail, and they said we can't find him. How could you? And then I'll tell you something that's really interesting. in the discovery, and correctional officer, the Priya guy, what's his name? The
Priya guy's name is let me hold on, I got it right here.
the guy that's in charge of Priya.
Right here. His name is First Sergeant Justin Fetter and Lieutenant Jeffrey Kepler.
Jeffrey Kepler, in his handwriting, he has Richard Brooks' name written on his notes. I have the document in the discovery. I have a discovery, Mustafa's discovery, and Jeffrey Kepler, in his handwriting, in his notes, a document that says, witness to Mustafa's beating, Richard Brooks. So you're telling me the inmate is inside your jail. The local FBI gets involved, and they say, we can't find him. Can you find him? Do you know how easy it was for me to track this kid when he was released out of that jail? I found this kid. I got an affidavit from him, and he's a witness into the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. But the FBI is covering this up. And at the time, they told us that this doesn't exist, that this video does not exist. That's what they told us.
And then
that your brother is good, nothing happened to your brother, and he is good to go.
Jesus Christ.
Charlotte, I want to take a deep dive into this dash camera, and I want to point out the details, and I find it really interesting that every time you want to ask Glenn Ford about anything, like, Glenn Ford, why are you lying about my brother? You sat down with the police and you're painting a monster. He's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever I say, it doesn't matter. What do you mean? The police are using you as the key witness into my brother's character. And you want to tell me it doesn't matter? And I think at one point in his, he would say, my opinion doesn't matter because it could it's just as relevant as the guy around the corner of what he thinks about your brother. No, motherfucker. The police department is using you as the witness into Mustafa character, is using you into Mustafa's relationship, and you're claiming that that Mustafa is a monster, that Mustafa has a bad relationship with his girlfriend, that Mustafa has a bad relationship with the kids. Don't tell me you're not the witness in this case. You're not going to get away with saying you're not the witness. You're telling the police you're the witness. But then I find it funny that he tells the police, I didn't see anything. But the police are using him to manufacture probable cause. And then he says, my favorite part is he says, don't worry about what I said to the police. Look at the dash camera.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, let's look at this dash camera that the prosecutor is terrified to release to the community. I mean, this dash camera, by the way, Charlotte, this dash camera, the prosecutor is sealing off from the community. They released a 5-second deformed version of a cut dash camera, and they said this is what happened.
What's their justification for stealing the fucking dash camera?
Nothing. They're terrified. They're terrified that this dash camera is going to get released, and people are going to see that this is a vehicle accident. I mean, what they're charging Mustafa is premeditated. And they're specifically saying premeditated, that Mustafa planned this out, that he specifically on that day was angry at Dorothy, was angry at 5-year-old Empress. He put them in a vehicle only to crash it. Now, it's disturbing because the video evidence from the Google Nest shows otherwise. Charlotte, look at this. This is the Google Nest inside the apartment. And it specifically shows Dorothy is the one that's asking 5-year-old Empress to go with her. Dorothy is the one that wanted to go on that day. Mustafa woke up late that day and he didn't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's Dorothy's idea. So how could it be premeditated if Dorothy is the one that wants to go? Let's watch this Google Nest.
To see Grandma for her birthday.
I have an idea. Do you want to give Grandma your flowers?
That's what I'm gonna give her the pink flowers out there that light up.
So you're gonna give her that one?
Here we go. Sorry.
Oh, you found.
No, this is the X-ray thing.
That's important. Yeah. So here you'll hear Dorothy ask Empress to go with her on that day. You'll hear Dorothy ask the boys to go, and the boys don't want to go. So how could it be premeditated? This contradicts the narrative of the prosecutor in court. The prosecutor is specifically charging Mustafa with premeditated. Specifically, she's saying that on this day, Mustafa planned this out. He wanted to go there. No, Mustafa woke up late and he didn't want to go anywhere. It's Dorothy that wanted him to go and take her to the cemetery to her mom's anniversary. And she's the one that asked 5-year-old Empress to go. So how could this be premeditated? It contradicts. Did you hear that? Man, this is... Listen.
Pharaoh, are you coming with me to the cemetery? It's Grandma's birthday today. If you don't want to, you stay here. I don't care. I just want to go. No, I don't care. Empress, get your shoes on. Thank you. Oh, no.
So in this Google Nest, Dorothy asked 5-year-old Empress. Dorothy wants to go. It's her idea. Pharaoh, and by the way, the forensic interview, when you watch the forensic interview, Pharaoh, her 9-year-old child, says exactly what is going on the Google Nest.
Yep.
But what did they do? The prosecutor refused to look at the Google Nest. Judge Carol Weimer refused. It pretends that this doesn't exist because it doesn't fit their narrative. Yes. And they seal off the forensic interviews. And the forensic interview report is falsified. By the way, you'll never hear Pharaoh talk about this in the forensic report. They falsified that forensic report. Yep. For every kid, they falsified it. This is the dash camera. Gonna pull it up here. So we can talk about the details of this dash camera. I mean, for a prosecutor that screams Mustafa is guilty, why is she terrified that the community is gonna watch the dash camera?
If you know luxury, it's not just award winning, it's rewarding. Saatva mattresses.
There we go. All right, so let's start this from the beginning. There we go. Okay, in Charlotte, we're here. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to pull up the audio conversation between Mustafa and Investigator Drum. Because Investigator Drum pretends he doesn't see that 5-year-old Empress is strapped in.
Exactly.
You see Mustafa right here? He's washing the car. I mean, Mustafa's washing the car. You want to tell me that this guy...
He knows he's about to go try and kill someone, but let me wash my fucking car first.
Absolutely makes no fucking sense.
That I've premeditated, I've pre-planned. I know that I'm about to go drive this thing and destroy it, but let me clean it first. What the fuck?
These are details that the prosecutor is terrified. And in a minute, you'll see that Mustafa is going to take out a bottle of perfume, and he's perfuming himself. He's perfuming his girlfriend's seat and 5-year-old Empress seat. You want to tell me that this guy hates his family?
More importantly, you're trying to tell me that this guy is planning and has already planned to go destroy the vehicle that he's making smell good and cleaning up?
Inside the apartment, you see there's a Google Nest where Mustafa is fixing his hat, fixing his shirt, fixing blah, 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 blah. He's looking all fresh. This guy wants to go kill himself and kill his family? Are you kidding me? Look, this is the part where he takes out a bottle of perfume.
I see it.
I mean, this prosecutor is terrified that this is like this is terrifying for the prosecutor. Okay, because she said she wants to say this is premeditated. He hates his family. Well, he's cleaning the car for them.
You know how ridiculous she is? She's gonna be like, she says the most wild asinine shit, and she figures as long as I say it, they'll believe it. Oh, you know what they were doing? As you can see, he was trying to make them all smell good for when they died. Like, what the fuck?
When we're talking about Mustafa,
And then he says in his police report
the
that
conversation.
she was crying. Well, no, she wasn't.
Exactly, the conversation has to make sense. You want to tell me, okay, Mustafa?
And then we're arguing. He doesn't even open his mouth.
We're talking.
She's not even.
Exactly.
When someone's arguing, this is what you're going to see, even without audio.
Exactly.
You're going to see facial expressions that show anger. You might see hand motions, speaking more rapidly. You're going to see actually two.
Like they're arguing.
Two people talking.
Yep.
Okay. This motherfucker. Sorry to call him a motherfucker. He doesn't even open his mouth. He's calm. She makes one little face that honestly looks like maybe she tasted something bad.
She's smoking CBD.
Because she was smoking something.
Dorothy hemp.
They said. I just had to.
Dorothy has cancer.
In the police report,
Yeah.
They said, she was crying. I don't understand how it's okay. This is more than just gathering your opinion out of what you saw. This is straight falsifying a police report.
Yep.
Because even without audio, anyone with a brain can see that's not arguing.
They're not arguing. There's no arguing.
She looks like she's calmly talking about something.
My favorite part is when the way they describe it is you would imagine like fists are flying, this heated argument. Where's the argument? There is no argument.
An argument has to have two people engaged in the conversation.
She's Dorothy has and you see that part where she so we're at the part where Dorothy comes in with flowers. Investigator Robert Drum claimed that there is no flowers.
What do you mean?
Well, let's listen to the audio of the conversation.
People are crazy.
Here, Dorothy comes into the vehicle, and Mustafa, you'll see him gesture to Dorothy, telling Dorothy to strap Empress in. Empress at this point was not strapped in. Mustafa tells Dorothy to strap her in. This investigator sees it.
Yeah.
You want to tell me that this guy doesn't care about Empress? He's strapping her in.
But if he had premeditated wanting to murder her, don't you think he wouldn't tell her to do that?
Exactly.
It makes it a lot harder to murder somebody when they have a fucking seatbelt on.
Exactly. You see that relationship he has with 5-year-old Empress? That she turns on the radio for him, that giant speaker in the back? Empress would not turn on the speaker for Mustafa if she hated Mustafa. Or if Mustafa if they didn't have a beautiful father-daughter relation. Mustafa's not the father. Mustafa took on the kids because he loved Dorothy. You see how he tells Dorothy to strap 5-year-old Empress and then she comes out? And they put her on the news that she was never strapped in.
Didn't they charge him with child abuse?
Yeah. Because they hid the dash camera. They thought no one's going to see the dash camera.
How could anyone believe somebody? Can we please pull up where they said that he never strapped her in? Is there somewhere? Or was that in court?
I haven't. No, I haven't. It's all over NBC4.
Okay, you guys, can we show them this really quick and then show them?
It's playing right here. It's the same one. It's playing right here.
At this time, they had this dash camera under seal. They knew the public would not be allowed to see it. And then this is
Not
what
just
they told the
anyone
public.
can service a machine like these, which is why there's serious demand for trained.
Devastating crash we first told you about last week. You might remember this one here. Police say a woman and a 5-year-old girl died in Prince William County after the car they were in crossed into oncoming traffic. All new tonight, police have charged the driver. They believe he crashed on purpose. Our Katie Lusso spoke to the little girl's father.
My baby girl. She's my baby girl.
Divine Fontaine, speaking with us over the phone tonight, says he still can't believe his little girl, 5-year-old Empress Fontaine, is gone.
I'm totally lost. I'm just lost right now.
Last Wednesday, Empress and her mother, Dorothy Fontaine, were killed in a crash on Dumfries Road at the intersection of Fortuna Plaza. Friday night, police arrested Mustafa Nofel Al-Jazari. Divine Fontaine said he was Dorothy's boyfriend. Investigators say Al Jazeera intentionally drove into oncoming traffic, causing the crash after an argument with Fontaine.
First of all, he's not the boyfriend. He's the ex-husband.
And Empress was also not properly restrained.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Y'all hear that?
Section of Fortuna Plaza. Friday night, police arrested Mustafa Nofel Al Jazeera. Divine Fontaine said he was Dorothy's boyfriend. Investigators say Al Jazeera intentionally drove into oncoming traffic, causing the crash after an argument with Fontaine. Investigators say the two were not wearing seatbelts, and Empress was also not properly restrained.
I couldn't believe it.
You know, to lie to the community like this, when it's on dash camera, they hide your dash camera and they put out whatever narrative they want to get the community riled up so they can prosecute you however they want.
I like how they worded that. She's not properly restrained. But either way, they're very slick in the way they try to manipulate the public.
Exactly. The way they make it sound.
Exactly. Yeah, make it sound like she didn't have a seatbelt on at all. But they know that wouldn't be a true statement. So instead, they manipulate you by saying something similar that would lead you to believe that, and that is she wasn't properly restrained. And I'm not familiar with that car scene, but if that's the truth, guess what? He, as you can see in that video, he told her to go buckle her up. And if she wasn't properly restrained, sounds like that's her fault. It wasn't him that did it. So how can you claim that it was premeditated?
Exactly.
You're telling me that he predicted she wasn't going to restrain her properly? He did the due diligence as a driver, telling the mom to go buckle her up.
Exactly.
How is he supposed to know that she wasn't going to properly do it?
That's why they're terrified to have the community watch this dash camera. They seal off the dash camera. This prosecutor is terrified.
I'm proving this was premeditated.
They're saying specifically that this is premeditated because Mustafa wanted Dorothy in the vehicle, 5-year-old Empress in the vehicle. We just watched the Google Nest where Dorothy is the one that wanted to go. Mustafa woke up late. He didn't even want to go anywhere.
Anytime that the police and the prosecutors are not willing to show the public any damning evidence, right? Because I promise you, if there was something extreme that just was hook, line, and sinker, they would be leaking that shit.
Of course. This would have been all over the internet.
But when all you have them leaking is their bullshit narrative, we all know politicians are full of shit. They qualify. Is the Commonwealth Attorney here elected?
Elected, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Politicians lie,
Yes,
people.
ma'am.
We all know that.
Yep.
Not everybody seems to agree that cops lie, but they fucking do.
Exactly. She's elected, and on her watch, there's a lot of corrupt. She's a jail board member. She sits on the jail board. There are 7 inmates that died on her watch. This Commonwealth Attorney does not care about justice. I mean, for the past 2 years, all she's engaged in is lie about Mustafa. Here, Charlotte, they pull into 7-Eleven. I mean, you know what I find really interesting? They want to judge Mustafa's driving by asking Glenn Ford, how was Mustafa's driving? Oh, no, you're good. Mustafa's driving, and here he is on a dash camera driving normal. He's not speeding. Here, right here, Mustafa goes into a 7-Eleven. Really quick, I'm going to pull up the CCTV from 7-Eleven. Now, what's really interesting here is this is Mustafa inside 7-Eleven. Charlotte, so this is Mustafa inside 7-Eleven. And what's unique about this is they're saying this is premeditated, right? That Mustafa wants to crash the vehicle on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Well, what are we doing seeing Mustafa inside 7-Eleven pull up a coupon that he wants to save $2 off his pack of cigarette? You want to tell me that 3 minutes later he crashed the vehicle on purpose? Like, if you watch this, it's ridiculous. Like, if you watch this, you see Mustafa here. You see Mustafa here. This is Mustafa. And when you zoom in, you see Mustafa pull up a coupon to save $2 off his pack of cigarette. He's buying cigarette. There we go. That's the coupon to save $2 off his pack of cigarettes. Charlie, look at this. This is the coupon. He's buying Newport, and he's pulling up a coupon, and if you zoom in, you'll see the coupon that he's pulling up.
Another thing that
This coupon. You see this?
Another thing that I find
This guy wants to crash on purpose?
Another thing I find just desperate is any claims made by the prosecution that, as if there's something suspicious about the fact that they went to 7-Eleven and got there before the police did to review this footage. Do you want to know why? Because they knew they were being accused of something.
I mean, we're all over the news.
What kind
They put it on the news 2 days into the vehicle accident. They said Mustafa did it on purpose.
I would have done the same thing because I would be wanting to prove what I know, and that's that they're lying.
You want to tell me that you're charging my brother with murder?
That's when is them going to collect
All over the news.
to prove his innocence, suggestive of some suspicious activity.
He's
People are
all over the news. You're saying that my brother did this on purpose, and you don't want me to go to the 7-Eleven that he pulled in and take the CCTV and collect the evidence for him? Are you fucking kidding me?
Exactly.
Like, it's ridiculous to troll the conversation in this way. I need all the evidence to show that my brother is innocent. What the fuck are we talking about here? And then Charlotte, look at this. This is outside the 7-Eleven, the CCTV outside 7-Eleven. I'm going to pause this really quick. And I want to point this out. A lot of people are trolling the conversation. They're saying, well, your brother pulled into 7-Eleven and his vehicle stops normal. So what are you talking about with the brake failure? You see this part right here? When he pulls in? It stops. The car stops. If you know anything about vehicles, the vehicle has no problem stopping at 20 miles an hour, at 30 miles an hour. But Mustafa was going 55 miles an hour. That's the speed limit, by the way. 55 is the speed limit. He's going 55 miles an hour. At that speed, the vehicle gave out. It stopped. It was vibrating. Mustafa, when he hits the brake, it was vibrating. And you see Empress in the backseat jumps forward, goes forward twice. His body weight shifts forward. He's hitting the brake. Now, the brake gave out. The police mechanic on a police body cam admit that there's brake failure. On a police body cam admit that the drive shaft disconnected from the engine. There's mechanical failure. That's not me saying it. That's a police mechanic. While he was hitting the brake, there's mechanical failure. Now, the CCTV show that Mustafa, so he just bought a cigarette. He used a coupon to save cigarette, $2 off a pack of cigarette. And here, you see Mustafa is cleaning his car. Charlotte, you see Mustafa right there?
Yeah, it's just the actions of somebody that's about to go try and kill someone.
This CCTV shows there was a lot of pollen on the car. And you see right here, oh my God, look. He's washing Empress's hands.
Crazy.
You see that right there?
You know,
He's washing Empress's hands. You want to tell me that guy doesn't care about Empress? Get the fuck out of here. He's washing the baby's hands. He just bought her a piece of candy. Look, you see how, and then he gives her napkins to dry off her hands. You see that right there? And then you see it on the inner camera. Look, he just bought her a piece of candy. Look, he just bought her a piece of candy. Okay?
she's so cute.
Okay, look. He just bought her a piece of candy. And then he goes and he's washing her hands. The CCTV from outside the jail. And then he gets her napkins to dry off her hands. That guy doesn't care about Empress? Exactly. Get the fuck out of here. Glenn Ford, where the fuck are you, man?
He's in the shadows.
He doesn't watch. He doesn't want to look at the dash camera. He's repeating the same sentence of the prosecutor. We get it, man. They deleted your drug charges, your gun charges, drunk in public. They don't process you, so they can use you to manufacture a probable cause. You got Kylie in the background, a 40-year-old man with a 16-year-old has you wrapped around her finger. What does Kylie have on you that you're entertaining that she tells you, can we kill Mustafa and make it look like an accident? I mean, you say on a recorded line that you wake up with her in your bed and she's high, she doesn't even know where she's at. And you do the same drugs. I mean, that's you on a recorded line. You're sitting there watching kids. I'm not looking at them. And brother, you can't deny that this is not your audio. I've got the private investigator. Okay, but you know, you fit the category. You sat down with Glenn Ford and recorded his conversation. I mean, how do you think that's going to play out in court? You're at this point a liability for the prosecutor. Now, perjury is punishable. You're going to end up in jail for lying. Based on torque and what damage you've caused, you're going to be held accountable by law. Now, this is Mustafa, and he's washing the car. You see what he's doing? There's a lot of pollen on the car, and he's just washing away. He's washing the window. He's washing the hood. He's just removing. So, you know, my favorite comment is someone wrote, he's using a squeegee to wash the car. Well, I'm sorry, it's not good enough for you, princess. Okay? I'm sorry, we're not tacky enough for you. Okay? Like, you know, the fuck, you're, okay, like, I do the same thing. Is that bad? I take out my giant truck and I use a squeegee at Wawa to clean out the car. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, is that not fancy enough for you? I mean, they're like, it's weird. It's weird. Well, not in our house. Welcome to our middle. Welcome. Seriously. Like, oh yeah, it's weird that he's washing it with a squeegee. Yeah, he did it on purpose. The fuck are you talking about? He cares about his car so much. Only to crash it 3 minutes later?
Which is important that they are saying he planned this.
This is he's washing his car. It's wild. He's cleaning his car. He's saving coupon off his cigarette. He's look, I mean prosecutor, what the hell are you thinking? Oh, we're gonna seal off the dash camera. We're going to keep gaslighting the community with Glenn Ford and NBC4. And I love how he was trying to convince you so hard that Mustafa did it on purpose. He's repeating everything that the prosecutor is saying. That's crazy.
Lord have mercy. These people are, I believe a lot in, transparency in government.
Yeah.
And the way that this country is headed is it's a police state where we no longer have our First Amendment right.
It's sad. It's really sad. You know, it's really sad, and it breaks you when you think about what they're doing. They're destroying this country.
Very, very quickly.
You know, the only thing that we have is our Constitution and our rights and our First Amendment. I mean, nowhere in any country that you are protected by a Constitution and rights. Yeah. And we hold those are the most important things that we have. And to sit here and have the individuals that we entrusted with a badge and uniform to take those away and allow those you no longer have what we have here. Yeah. Might as well go live in Russia or China
or Korea
or North Korea. I mean, I got arrested for what at the jail?
Oh, can I speak on that? Have you ever? I have never in my life, and I've been through some shit. The fact that this entire family, one by one, was arrested for trespassing, and then to hold that they could not go to their brother's trial or their son's trial. They one by one picked them off and made it so they couldn't go. And each arrest was for exercising their First Amendment right. I think that's disgusting. Shame on that, whatever the fuck his name is, Sheriff
Glenn Hill?
Glenn Hill.
My brother
and shame on every one of his subordinates that carried out his orders, which I'm hypothesizing this is. Don't sue me, bitches.
You know, what they're attempting to do is trespass the whole family, so that way when they're trying Mustafa,
Innocent people, innocent cops don't go to these lengths to harass this family. That is the truth. Okay? When you are innocent, you don't worry about shit like that. Innocent police, when I went and met him for the first time, I pulled up in my Volvo. Was I driving the Volvo at the time? Or did I have
I
this
can't
car?
remember.
I might have had my other car. Anyways,
Yeah.
I pull up. I made sure my external, internal, rear, and front-facing dash cams were all on and working before even going there because I already know how these cops operate, right? But I fully expected to be followed, and as sure as hell was. While I'm there, an unmarked, tinted out car comes into the parking lot.
I remember.
Just to turn around because they
Yep.
want to get my license plate
Yep.
and see who the fuck I am,
Yep.
right? Then, as I'm leaving, a marked car fucking follows me all the way to the fucking highway.
Yep.
These
are intimidation
intimidation
fact- yeah.
tactics. And those are not tactics used by people that are innocent. Okay? That's just all I gotta say.
I mean, what they're doing. I mean, why am I getting arrested right here? Sheriff Glen Hill deposition says I'm on public property. I'm peacefully exercising my. That's what his deposition. I'm on public property. I'm standing. I'm not disorderly. I have a recording of his deposition that I'm on public property. I'm not disorderly, and he had no idea that I was being arrested for disorderly. He threw his deputy sheriff under the bus, and his deputy sheriff is a retired Marine. I mean, to throw him just under it's he has no respect. With his deputy sheriff does not respect him. I promise you that. Now, does he have a good personality? He has a beautiful personality. I mean, when you meet him, you would think he's the nicest person in the world. Yeah. This is not personal. My problem with Sheriff Glen Hill is not personal. I have a problem with the sheriff that's in a uniform
to violate your rights.
Exactly. I mean, I have a First Amendment. I should be able to stand there. What did we just watch here? I mean, why am I getting arrested?
You gotta love a corrupt individual that is also stupid, because you want to know what smart corrupt individuals do? They remain silent. They give zero attention or feedback to the things that they're being accused of. That's what smart criminals do. Think mafia style. Police and other people's, like, in their situation, their egos are overinflated. And they cannot stand it, and it gets the best of them every time. Chief Katz, the ex-chief of police in Chesterfield, he was the same fucking way. This dude literally made a Facebook post on his official account labeled, and I'm paraphrasing, Colonel Jeffrey S. Chesterfield Police Chief Colonel Jeffrey S. Katz. Like, it was his official page. And he makes a post saying he will not stand by passively while someone sits behind a keyboard and attempts to disparage the work his officers do to keep the children in our community safe. Talking about me.
So what is he going to do? Come after you?
That's a threat.
Use a badge and a uniform?
I'm not going to
exactly.
sit by
That's a threat. That's a threat. Of course. Use the what? Use the police department resources? Use the police department resources to go after you? Is that what he's going to do?
It was more than that. They used our tax dollars to sue me. The county attorneys who are paid by with our tax dollars, their job, and by statute, they're only allowed to represent employees of the county out of things that come from the provision of their services. So while employed as a county employee, some shit happened, they can represent them. They were representing a person that just happened to be a cop in his individual capacity. They were suing for money damages for Mr. Kevin Flynn. That's how they labeled it.
Interesting.
But they were trying to pretend that because he also happens to be a sergeant, that they could fucking use taxpayer. These people don't give a shit. I uncovered what I believe to be what was told to me by high-ranking people within the government and within the not only the local government but our state government. Okay, I had more than one person tell me that he was being investigated. This chief was being investigated prior to retiring and going to the FBI. He was being investigated for misappropriation of funds relating to the purchases of uniforms. So I start digging, right?
And of course,
I found
he didn't like the attention.
Well, they probably instead of saying, "Hey, we busted him doing this," in my opinion, what they always do is they let them get away with it, and they say, "All right, just go find another job," right?
Yeah.
We're gonna let you go find another job. We're gonna let you retire. Anyways, so in the last 1 year prior to his retirement, okay, I found in the public online vendor payments by the county, labeled from the police department, over $200,000 in payments to a place called East Coast Emergency Vehicles, which is a local company, and they were labeled uniforms. Guess what? This company doesn't fucking sell uniforms.
Oh, well. Oh,
So
well.
when I
Yeah.
reported to the county, this guy seems concerned, but then I called to follow up on the investigation. He says, yeah, when I spoke to the police department, they just said, this is how they've always been labeling it. So it was just a mistake on how they were labeling it. There was nothing else for them to put it
So-
under. I said, well, that's interesting because the sheriff's department, the fire, the emergency, all these other departments, they had a way to label it. And in fact, every other purchase that the police department made from the same company for things that were actually something they sold, they were labeled correctly. So why? And, sir, that's false. They did not do this for years. I actually have the save because he told me they just changed it. Now when you go look up the vendor payments, it won't say uniforms anymore.
Oh, beautiful. So they take your complaint and
I
they
said,
cover
sir,
it
you
up.
don't think I have the safe PDF
Yeah.
file of every vendor payment going back 7 years? Because I went all years, all the 6 years he was there. I have 8 years. And then I did the 2 years prior to him because I wanted to look at how much they were spending on uniforms every year. So this is how I believe he got away with it. When he first came there, he changed the entire department's uniforms. That there justified the $200,000 increase in spending that year for uniforms because
beautiful.
he changed them
That's
all.
beautiful.
So then he uses this new increase and keeps it similar every year. He makes you $200,000 every year.
Yeah, they take your complaint and they cover it up as of nothing happened. I mean, they're using resources,
But only in that
a badge and a
only
uniform.
In that
Yeah,
last year was he buying uniforms for a company that didn't sell uniforms.
of course,
And then they just cover that up.
of course. We're way over an hour with this podcast. Now, before we end this podcast, I want to make sure that we address, yes, ma'am, free Mustafa, and I want to address the details in this dash camera. The police department did a toxicology report.
She's crying.
No, they're not even arguing. There is no argument inside the car,
I
but
don't see any tears. He's not even talking.
they hide the dash camera, they seal it off from the community, and they put out a narrative. And we're supposed to just believe their narrative. That's what they're hoping for. I mean, for a prosecutor that screamed Mustafa is guilty, why are you terrified that we're watching a dash camera? Mustafa, they did a toxicology report on Mustafa's blood and Dorothy's blood. No alcohol, no drugs. Mustafa is not speeding. The dash camera shows 77. Charlotte, you see that 77 right there? NBC4 aired that.
That didn't even change.
It doesn't change. Even when you pull, exactly. Even when you pull into 7-Eleven and stop, it doesn't change. The odometer is not calibrated. Okay? So, he's not speeding. The computer inside the vehicle shows he's going speed limit. His toxicology report shows no alcohol, no drugs.
They're
So,
not arguing. and
they're
she's
not arguing
crying.
inside the vehicle.
She's not crying.
He's driving normal. You can't charge him with involuntary. So what did the investigator do? He falsified his statements on the police report. And he said, you said I was arguing inside the vehicle. So now it's involuntary because he was arguing. The minute the dash camera comes out, they're like, wait a minute. Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, once Internal Affairs admitted that this investigator falsified Mustafa's police report, the Commonwealth Attorney, within 5 days, drops the charges and retaliate by bringing it up all the way to murder. Now it's murder, and specifically, she says, Mustafa, on that day, wanted Dorothy and Empress in the vehicle only to go crash it, and he wanted the boys to stay home because he hated the girls Well, what did we watch on the Google Nest? The Google Nest showed that Dorothy is the one that wanted to go. This is Dorothy. I feel like I'm teaching a class and I'm like beating a dead horse here. You see Dorothy? This is the Google Nest. The prosecutor is terrified. The prosecutor is charging Mustafa with premeditated murder and saying specifically that Mustafa on that day wanted Dorothy and Empress in the car and to crash the vehicle on purpose. And he wanted the boys to stay home. The Google Nest inside the apartment contradict the narrative of the prosecutor. Dorothy says to Empress, Dorothy is telling Empress to go with her. It's Dorothy that wants to go on that day. It's the boys that wants to stay home. Mustafa woke up late. He didn't even want to go. But Dorothy wanted him to take her to her mom's anniversary. Listen. The prosecutor is terrified that the Google Nest is coming out. Put your shoes on. You see that? Pharaoh.
Are you coming with me to the cemetery?
Are you coming with me to the cemetery? It's my mom's birthday today.
If you don't want to, you can stay here.
We don't want to. You can stay here.
No, I don't care.
The prosecutor is terrified. Judge Carol Weimer knows about the Google Nest because when Blake Weiner, he told Judge Carol Weimer in circuit court, Your Honor, I have hours and hours that contradict what the government is claiming that Mustafa is abusive. This is on the record. So Judge Carol Weimer can't pretend this doesn't exist. But for 2 years, they're pretending it doesn't exist. This is not on the record yet. Why? Is it because it contradicts the narrative? But now it's in the public domain. Now the community is watching. There is a Google Nest inside the apartment. There's video evidence of the relationship. And you're telling me this guy is abusive? I mean, you're telling me this guy
Didn't he make
is
the breakfast?
Oh, the whole entire day. Even Jaden, the 14-year-old child is telling the forensic interview, in a forensic interview, Mustafa was cooking for my mom. And Dorothy eats vegan food. So there's a special way that you cook food for Dorothy. He's sitting there cooking her vegan food. Wow. It's on Google Nest. Video that he's sitting there cooking her food. Jaden in a forensic interview says he's cooking for my mom. They're terrified. This material is being leaked out on the internet. We get to have a conversation. And Judge Carol Weimer has no option but to be impartial. We're demanding and we're asking this judge to stop protecting a prosecutor that's lying about Mustafa. For 2 years, that's what Judge Carol Weimer has been doing. Every time Prosecutor Sarah Sammy lie about Mustafa, Judge Carol Weimer rules in her favor, despite the evidence, regardless of the evidence. Now that the evidence are out, the body cams that are sealed are on the internet, the discovery is being leaked out on the internet, Judge Carol Weimer has no option but to be impartial. He's in hot waters right now. He's in circuit court. There's a record of everything that he rules on. And now the community is watching those body cams. Before, you can't verify what Judge Carol Weimer does because you don't have the evidence.
Yes.
But now it's a different situation. And we get to have a conversation. And we're not asking for accountability. At this point, we're demanding accountability. Yep. On that note, Charlotte Carter.
It's been real.
Thank you for being here, ma'am. It's beautiful having you here. Yes, ma'am.
May 24th, what year was that?
2023.
Okay. Here's the X-ray. I just want to say one more thing. If you guys go back, you can see the clear, very large, pronounced bruising to Mustafa's upper right arm. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Upper right arm.
I'm going to pull it up for you.
That is, especially for someone that's not on a blood thinner, that's indicative that there was a serious injury to that arm. That much bruising. I mean, that's crazy, right? So they say that they did. It's all to the upper arm, okay, and the elbow. Here's the X-ray. Here's the X-ray report that they did months later, probably because nonstop protests from the family demanding it, right?
Yes, ma'am. We were in front of that jail every day. We would go to every board meeting.
Can you show this to them?
Yeah.
What kind of X-ray does that say this is? January 2024.
Okay, I'm gonna put her up to the screen.
When the bruising was to the upper arm, humerus, why would you do an X-ray to the forearm? I want you guys to look, in case you're not aware, the X-ray of the forearm stops at the elbow. This is the forearm. His injury's here. I'll send this to you so you can
Yeah, and then I'll upload it. Now,
So in order to look like they investigated it, because even if it's an old fracture, there's a very high potential. It most likely would show, even in an X-ray 6 or 7 months later. A fracture is not something that a lot of the times, I don't want to say never, because in my experience, I see X-rays all the time working with, especially the elderly, because they're more likely to have broken bones in the past, that will say old fracture, old fracture, old fracture, especially since he got no medical attention for it. So even though they were now somewhat complying with his request for diagnostic testing from injuries and it took them 6 or 7 months to get this.
yeah.
You go and you X-ray the wrong fucking part of his body? You can't tell me this.
They're doing it
Can
intentionally.
Can you tell
Yeah.
me? Do you have any? I want everybody to if you can give me a good reason why they would do this, I'm all ears. I can't think of one.
I'll
Other
tell
than
you.
intentional,
Yep.
to pretend like they did something when they intentionally didn't. In fact, I've read a case before, and I think this might be a common practice amongst jails. I actually have read a lawsuit, and I'll find it, and I'll give it to him to post. I read a lawsuit back when I was investigating this and looking through his medical records from the jail. And in this lawsuit, it was proven, and they were found guilty to have intentionally X-rayed the hand when it was, and I'm just guessing, but intentionally X-raying the wrong portion of that body part so that it wouldn't include the portion that had.
Of course, Mustafa would complain. They would take him to the doctor only to X-ray the wrong portion. And Mustafa would tell the doctor, "Why are you X-raying the wrong portion when my arm?" This is a picture of Mustafa's injuries 3 weeks after the beating. 3 weeks after the beating.
That
During
amount of bruising really makes me feel like the likelihood something was broken in his arm is very high.
Charlotte, this is a solitary confined inmate. Mustafa is in solitary confinement by himself. The only person that has access to Mustafa is a correctional officer.
How soon after May 24th was this taken?
3 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
And in my
2 weeks.
In my 15 years of nursing opinion, the coloration of the bruising matches with the claim that this was 2 weeks after. I'm just, it's sick. Anyways, I won't keep you all. But
Mustafa Al-Jazari. Charlotte, thank you for being here, ma'am. Thank you for being part of the conversation. Mustafa is lucky that you're here. This county is lucky that you're here fighting against corruption. And this community is lucky that we have someone that understands corruption and is fighting against it. Yes, ma'am. You were gonna say something?
we need to start talking about this as if you're in this area or even not. Discuss this with your neighbors. I'm not saying you have to agree with us, but this is something that needs to be talked about because it's not just Mustafa that's going through this. I've spoken to several inmates in there. This jail really needs to be looked at.
Yeah,
How many deaths? How many deaths?
7 within the past 5 years.
7 deaths within the past 5 years. Young people, 19, 20 something.
Muhammad Ikram Shardil, Juan Campos, and the list goes on. Mustafa Al-Jazari has been held in this county jail in solitary
we need to start talking about
confinement.
this before Mustafa becomes number 8.
Charlotte Carter, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the conversation. Thank you for being on this podcast. I want to thank everybody that's here on this podcast. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa Al-Jazari through the police body cams. Judge Carol Weimer under the microscope. Thank you for being here.